At my grandfather's funeral, my aunt smirked and said, "I already emptied his safe deposit box. There's nothing left for you." I thought she had won, until the lawyer smiled and said, "Actually, you took the wrong box." When the truth came out, my aunt's face turned pale. I stood by my grandfather's casket, my hands clenched into fists. I should have been sad, thinking about all the good times we had together, but instead, I was staring at my aunt, her smug face, her fancy black dress that showed off her wealth, and that little smirk on her lips that made me furious. She leaned in close, so only I could hear her, and whispered, "I already emptied his safe deposit box. There's nothing left for you." Then she walked away like she had just won something big. For a moment, I couldn't even react. My body felt cold. My grandfather had worked hard his whole life to build what he had. He wasn't super rich, but he was careful with his money. He had saved, invested, and always told me, "When the time comes, I'll make sure you're taken care of." And now, my aunt, who barely visited him in his last years, was bragging about stealing from him before he was even buried. Let me explain a little more. My grandfather had 3 kids, my dad, my uncle, and my aunt. My dad was the responsible one. He took care of my grandfather as he got older. My uncle wasn't a bad guy, just kind of distant. He didn't cause trouble, but he didn't help much either. But my aunt, she was different. She was always selfish, always looking for ways to get more than her share. She married a rich man, then divorced him and got even richer. She spent money like it was nothing and acted like she deserved everything. When my grandfather got sick, my dad was the one who took care of him. He drove him to the doctor, paid his bills, and made sure he had everything he needed. My aunt, she only showed up when she thought she could get something out of it. And now, at his funeral, she was acting like she had won. After the funeral, everyone went to the reception. I stayed behind, trying to make sense of everything. That's when my grandfather's lawyer, Mr. Callahan, came up to me. He was an older man, someone my grandfather trusted for years. He had a calm, knowing look on his face, like he knew something my aunt didn't. He glanced at her, then at me, and said, "Actually, she took the wrong box." I was shocked. "What?" He smiled. "Your grandfather knew how she was. He had 2 safe deposit boxes. One was fake." It took me a second to understand. "So she stole the fake one?" Callahan nodded. "Everything in there was meant to trick her. Worthless old papers, fake stock certificates, and some old coins that aren't worth anything." I felt a slow sense of satisfaction. "And the real one?" He handed me a small envelope. "The details are in here, but let's just say she's in for a big surprise when she tries to cash in on what she stole." I almost laughed, but I didn't. I wanted to see how this would play out, so I waited. It didn't take long. A few days later, my aunt started bragging about all the things she was going to do now that she had secured my grandfather's money. She talked about vacations, investments, even buying a new house. Then she tried to cash in, and that's when the truth hit her hard. A few days later, my cousin, my aunt's son, called me. He sounded frustrated. "Have you seen my mom?" he asked. "No," I said, though I had a feeling something was wrong. "She's losing it," he said. "She went to the bank today to cash in some of Grandpa's old stocks and bonds, and they told her they were worthless." I almost laughed but held it back. "Wait, what?" I said, pretending not to know. "Yeah," he said, "she's screaming at her lawyer right now, saying she was supposed to get everything." I could only imagine the scene. My aunt, who always thought she was the smartest, was now realizing she had stolen a box full of junk. While my aunt was busy figuring out her mistake, I met with Mr. Callahan to see what my grandfather had really left behind. He slid a folder across the table. "Your grandfather knew your aunt would try something," he said, "so he made sure everything was done right." I opened the folder and read through the papers. My grandfather had divided everything, his house, his savings, his investments, but he had left something special just for me, a separate trust that my aunt couldn't touch. It held something much more valuable than money. My heart raced as I read. It was a piece of land he had bought years ago. Back then, it didn't seem like much, just empty space outside of town. But now it was worth millions. When my aunt found out, she lost it. She called me, screaming, "You stole from me." I took a deep breath. "I didn't steal anything. You took the wrong box, remember?" Her voice cracked. "But I was supposed to get everything." "That's not how it works," I said. "Grandpa knew exactly what he was doing." She hung up on me. That was just the start. A few days later, my aunt's problems got worse. Turns out, When she emptied the fake box, she had accidentally committed bank fraud. My grandfather had put fake legal papers in there, nothing illegal, but they looked real enough to trick her. She had forged his signature on some of them, trying to claim things that weren't even his. And the bank? They didn't let that slide. Before she knew it, she was under investigation. The final blow? The last time I saw my aunt, she was a mess. Her lawyer quit, her accounts were frozen, and she had lost everything she thought she had stolen. And the worst part? She knew I had won. She knew my grandfather had outsmarted her. She knew she had played herself. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The look on her face said it all. And as I walked away, I could almost hear my grandfather's voice in my head, laughing softly. Some people never learn, I thought. That was the end of it, or so I thought. But my aunt? She wasn't the type to give up. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. My aunt was suing me. She said my grandfather had been tricked in his final years and that I had somehow convinced him to change his will. She wanted the trust cancelled, the land taken away, and everything split up again. I wasn't worried. My grandfather had done everything the right way, but I was angry. After everything, after she had stolen from her own father, she still had the nerve to try to take more. Her lawsuit should have been thrown out right away, but here's the problem: lawsuits cost money, and my aunt still had some left. Not a lot, but enough to make my life difficult for a while. She kept dragging it out, filing one legal request after another, trying to delay things and find a way to win. But here's where it gets interesting. While my aunt was busy suing me, something else was happening behind the scenes. She had been living a very fancy life for years: big houses, expensive cars, designer clothes. She always acted like she had endless money, but she didn't. Turns out, after her divorce, she had been secretly drowning in debt. She had borrowed money against everything she owned, maxed out her credit cards, and taken out shady loans. And now her lawsuit had brought attention to her real financial situation. People she owed money to started coming after her. The IRS started looking into her taxes. Then, the final blow: her ex-husband sued her, saying she had hidden money during their divorce. Her life was falling apart faster than she could fix it. And then, the biggest twist: remember the land my grandfather left me? The one my aunt thought was worthless? Well, she should have done her research, because what she didn't know was that my grandfather had been working on a deal for years. A company wanted to buy the land to build shops, luxury homes, and other things. And just a few weeks after my aunt's lawsuit started, the deal was done. The trust my grandfather set up for me? It wasn't just worth millions, it was worth tens of millions. When my aunt found out, she lost it. She tried to add to the lawsuit, saying the land deal had been hidden from her, but the judge didn't believe her. Not only did she lose the lawsuit, but she was also ordered to pay all of my legal fees. With no money left, my aunt had to sell her house, her cars were taken away, her credit was ruined, and the best part? The bank fraud investigation was still going on. She went from living in a mansion to renting a small apartment on the edge of town. She was completely, totally ruined. The last I heard, she was trying to start some kind of business selling advice on living a luxury life, or something like that, but no one was interested. And me? I was set for life, all because my grandfather knew exactly who she was. She thought she had won, but in the end, she only outsmarted herself. For a while, I thought that was the end. My aunt was broke, humiliated, and stuck in the mess she had made. But some people don't know when to give up. Even after losing everything, she kept trying to fight. She started telling anyone who would listen that I had stolen the inheritance. She tried to act like the victim, saying I had tricked our grandfather into cutting her out. At first, I ignored her. I let her talk. No one believed her. But then, she did something that went too far. She showed up at my grandfather's old house, the one I inherited, and tried to break in. I got a call from the security company in the middle of the night. "There's been a break-in attempt," the guy said. "The police are on the way." I didn't even have to ask who it was. By the time I got there, the cops had already arrived. My aunt was standing in the driveway, screaming at the officers, trying to convince them she had a right to be there. "This is my father's house," she yelled. One of the officers turned to me. "Sir, do you know this woman?" I crossed my arms. "Unfortunately," the officer said. "She says she has a right to the property." I pulled out my phone, opened an email from the lawyer, and showed them the legal papers with my name on them. "She has no right to anything," I said. The cop looked at the papers, nodded, then turned to my aunt. "Ma'am, you're trespassing." She exploded. "You don't understand. That's my inheritance. He stole it from me. The cop didn't care. Ma'am, turn around. You're under arrest for trespassing and attempted burglary. I watched as they handcuffed her. She was screaming, cursing, still acting like she was in control, but she wasn't. She was done. She had nothing left, no money, no lawyers, no friends willing to help. And now she had a criminal record. As they put her in the back of the police car, she looked at me, and for the first time, I saw it, not anger, not entitlement, but fear. She knew this was the end. And I just stood there, watching, letting her feel every second of it. After that, my aunt disappeared from our lives. She lost everything. The last I heard, she was living in a small, rundown apartment, working odd jobs just to survive. No more luxury, no more power, no more control. And me? I honored my grandfather's memory. I took care of my dad. I made sure my family was safe and secure. I donated to charities he cared about. I used the money the right way. And every now and then, I'd think about my aunt, how she thought she had won, how she thought she had outsmarted everyone, but in the end, she played herself. And my grandfather? He got the last laugh.
The words hit like daggers as I cleared out my desk. You're throwing away everything we built for you, Lucia. This food truck fantasy will be your biggest failure yet. My brother Gregory's voice dripped with the same condescension he'd perfected since childhood. I'm Lucia, and at 28, I just quit my 6-figure tech job to start a Lebanese food truck. Crazy, right? That's what my family thinks anyway. Actually, Greg, I'm throwing away everything you wanted for me, I said, dropping my company laptop into its box with a satisfying thunk. There's a difference. He leaned against my now empty cubicle, arms crossed over his expensive suit. Mum's crying, you know. Dad can barely look at the family photos anymore. Drama queen much? I rolled my eyes, but my hands trembled as I packed away my last family photo, the one with Tita, my grandmother, teaching me how to roll grape leaves in her kitchen, the only one who'd understand what I'm doing now. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. Please reconsider. We didn't send you to Stanford for this. I switched it to silent as my friend Kendall appeared at my desk, grinning. Ready to ditch this corporate prison, boss? More than ready, I said, hoisting the box. The food truck's being delivered tomorrow. Gregory scoffed. A food truck, in Silicon Valley, where rent costs more than your yearly profit will ever be. Watch me, I said, turning to face him. One day, you'll be standing in line at Zesty Za'atar, waiting for my Za'atar manakish like everyone else. Zesty what? He laughed. You can't even name a business properly. Kendall stepped between us. Come on, Lucia. Your new business partner is freezing out here. As we walked toward the elevator, Gregory called out, when this fails, and it will fail, don't come crying to us. Outside, the crisp January air hit my face. Kendall squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I should be terrified, I said, looking up at the gleaming tech campus I was leaving behind. But I'm not. I'm excited. Your grandmother would be proud, Kendall said, helping me load the box into her car. You think? I pulled out my phone, showing her the photo I'd saved as my wallpaper, Tita's handwritten recipe for shish tawuk. She always said our family lost its soul when we stopped cooking together. Speaking of cooking, Kendall said, we need to test that marinade recipe tonight. The health inspection's at 9 tomorrow. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my sister Layla. Are you really doing this? Greg says you've lost your mind. They'll see, I said, putting the phone away. They'll all see. We drove to my apartment, where the smell of garlic and herbs greeted us. I'd been testing recipes all week, much to my roommate's delight. The kitchen counter was covered with containers of spices Tita had left me, za'atar, sumac, baharat, each one a piece of the heritage my family seemed eager to forget. Taste this, I said, offering Kendall a spoonful of toom. Too much garlic? Perfect amount of garlic, she said, reaching for water. Your brother's an idiot if he thinks this won't sell. I stirred the marinade, remembering Teta's hands guiding mine, teaching me the exact moment to add each spice. You know what the worst part is? They act like I'm throwing away my education, like my business degree won't help me run this truck. Their loss, Kendall said, sampling the chicken. Holy shit, Lucia, this is incredible. My phone rang. Mom again. This time I answered. Lucia, Habibi, please, it's not too late to fix this. I know Richard in HR would take you back. Mom, stop. This isn't a mistake that needs fixing. This is my choice. But your future. My future is exactly what I'm building, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Tata's recipes deserve better than being lost in some family cookbook nobody opens. Your grandmother didn't spend her life cooking so you could throw away. No, I cut her off. She spent her life cooking to keep our culture alive, to give us something to be proud of. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. After hanging up, I showed Kendall the business plan I'd spent months perfecting. Market analysis, cost projections, social media strategy, everything they thought I was too naive to consider. Tomorrow, I said, we prove them all wrong. Kendall raised her water glass. To zestizata. To Tata, I added softly, touching my necklace, the last gift she gave me, a small gold pendant shaped like a cedar tree. In my mind, I could hear her voice. Habibi, our food tells our story. Never let anyone shame you for sharing it. Looking at the marinating chicken, the scattered spices, and my best friend's encouraging smile, I felt something settle in my chest. This wasn't just about proving my family wrong anymore. This was about proving myself right. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Order up, 2 chicken shawarma wraps and a side of fattoush, I called out, wiping sweat from my forehead. 3 weeks in, and Zesty Zatar was starting to build a rhythm. Make that 3 shawarma wraps, Kendall shouted over the lunch rush noise. The tech bros are multiplying. The line stretched around the corner of the food truck lot, a mix of curious foodies and regular customers who'd found us through our Instagram page. The February sun beat down on the chrome exterior of our truck, making the small space feel like a sauna. Did you see the comments on our latest post? Kendall asked, expertly wrapping a shawarma. That video of you making manakish hit 10,000 views. Less social media, more garnishing, I laughed, but my heart swelled with pride. Each positive comment felt like a tiny victory against Gregory's predictions of failure. A familiar face appeared at the window. Marin, another food truck owner who'd become a fast friend. Girl, your line is longer than mine today. What's your secret? Generations of Lebanese grandmothers, I winked, handing her our specialty, za'atar manakish with extra olive oil, just how Teta made it. Speaking of family, Morin said between bites, your sister's been lurking on our Instagram. She's liked every post this week. My hands froze over the cutting board. Layla? Are you sure? Unless there's another Layla Lewis, 22, who looks exactly like your sister. Before I could process this, an elderly man approached the window. His eyes crinkled as he scanned our menu. Smells just like my mother's kitchen, he said, his accent thick with memories of home. Where was home? I asked, already reaching for the tome. Beirut, he smiled. Left in 75. Haven't had proper shawarma since. Then you're in luck, I said, preparing his order with extra care. This is my grandmother's recipe. She was from Beirut, too. When he took his first bite, his eyes welled up. Exactly like Mama's, he whispered. You've brought a piece of home to California, Habibti. The moment was interrupted by my phone buzzing. Mom, again. I let it go to voicemail. Your mother still not speaking to you? Kendall asked as we cleaned up during the afternoon lull. Oh, she's speaking, just not the words I want to hear. I played the latest voicemail on speaker. Lucia, your father's friend saw your food cart. Is this really how you want people to see our family? Like common street vendors? Kendall threw a piece of pita at my phone. Common street vendors who just made more in 3 weeks than their fancy son did in bonuses last quarter. She was right. Despite the startup costs, we were already turning a profit. Our social media following grew daily, and we'd been invited to cater several tech company lunches. Even the local food blog had featured us in their must-try food trucks list. Speaking of money, I said, pulling out my laptop. Check this out. I showed Kendall our books. If we keep this up, We can start looking at a second truck by summer. No way! She hugged me, nearly knocking over a container of tahini. We're actually doing it. The afternoon rush started picking up when I spotted a familiar face in line. My sister Layla, trying to look inconspicuous in large sunglasses. What should I get? She asked quietly when she reached the window, like she was afraid someone might recognize her. Depends, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Are you here to spy for Greg, or did you actually want to try the food? She pulled off her sunglasses, looking guilty. Both? Greg's been insufferable since you left. Keeps saying you'll come crawling back any day now. And what do you think? She glanced at the line behind her, then at our pristine truck with its professional branding. I think it smells amazing in here, like Tita's kitchen during Eid. Something in my chest loosened slightly. Try the shawarma platter, I said. Extra toom, just how you liked it as a kid. When I handed her the food, she hesitated. Lou, I'm sorry about before. About not standing up for you when you quit. Prove it, I said. Tell Greg exactly how good this food is. She took a bite and closed her eyes. Oh my God, this is better than Teta's. Don't tell Mom I said that. After she left, Kendall nudged me. Think she'll really tell Greg? Doesn't matter, I said, watching my sister disappear into the crowd, already taking photos of her food. The line speaks for itself. By closing time, we'd served over 200 customers and received 3 catering inquiries. As we cleaned up, I touched Teta's cedar pendant and smiled. Common street vendor, huh? I muttered. Just wait, Mama, just wait. You're late, Mum said as I walked into their house for our monthly family dinner. The familiar smell of her cooking filled the air, but something was off. She'd made Italian, not Lebanese. Food truck ran long, I said, kissing her cheek. Big corporate catering order. At least you're making money as a street vendor, Gregory called from the living room, not bothering to look up from his phone. Though probably not enough for a decent watch. I checked my sauce-stained t-shirt and shrugged. Actually, we're doing great, but you'd know that if you followed our Instagram. We hit 20,000 followers yesterday. Instagram followers don't pay bills, Dad said, emerging from his study. Richard still asks about you, you know. Says your position is open. My position is running my own successful business, I said, following them to the dining room. But thanks for the concern. Layla was already seated, looking uncomfortable. Since her visit to the truck last week, she'd been texting me regularly, asking for recipes and business advice. Now, she wouldn't meet my eyes. So, Mom said, serving the pasta, Gregory has some exciting news. My brother straightened his tie, grinning. I've been promoted to senior financial analyst, the youngest in the firm's history. Mabrook, Dad beamed. This calls for champagne. As he went to fetch the bottle, Gregory smirked at me. Some of us are still climbing the corporate ladder instead of climbing into food trucks. Funny, I said, twirling pasta on my fork. I catered lunch for your firm last week. Your colleague Marcus loved our food so much, he booked us for his wedding. You're catering weddings now? Layla perked up. Don't encourage her, Mom snapped. It's bad enough she's throwing away her education. Now she wants to be a wedding caterer too. What's wrong with catering weddings? I put down my fork. Tita catered weddings. Or did you forget that's how she put you through college? The table fell silent. Mum's face tightened. That was different. We had no choice back then. No, you're right. I had a choice. And I chose to honor her legacy instead of being ashamed of it. We're not ashamed, Dad said, returning with the champagne. We're concerned. This experiment of yours. Experiment, I laughed. We're making 5 figures a month. How's that for an experiment? Gregory choked on his wine. You're lying. I pulled out my phone, showing him our books. Check the numbers yourself, Mr. Senior Financial Analyst. Or better yet, ask your colleague Marcus why he chose us over that fancy catering company you recommended. That's actually impressive, Layla said quietly. Layla, Mom warned. No, Mom, it is impressive. Have you even tried her food? It's better than... Than what? I challenged. Better than Tita's. Better than the food you pretend doesn't exist when your country club friends come over. That's enough. Dad slammed his hand on the table. We're here to celebrate Gregory's success, not your street food venture. Just then, my phone buzzed. An email from the Bay Area Food Festival. I opened it, my hands shaking. Oh my God, I whispered. What now? Gregory rolled his eyes. Health department finally shut you down. No, I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I just got invited to be a featured vendor at the Bay Area Food Festival. The waiting list is usually 3 years long. The one they do at the waterfront. Layla's eyes widened. Lou, that's huge. Mom snatched my phone, reading the email. Her face paled. This is a mistake. They must not know. Know what, Mom? That I'm not some fancy restaurant, that I'm just a street vendor, or that I'm your daughter, embarrassing you by cooking the food you grew up eating. Lucia, Dad started. No, I want to know. What exactly are you ashamed of? The fact that I'm successful, or the fact that I'm successful doing something you look down on? Gregory scoffed. Success is relative. 1 good month doesn't... 6 good months, I corrected him. 6 months of proving you all wrong. 6 months of watching people line up for hours to taste the food you think is beneath you. 6 months of carrying on Teta's legacy while you all try to forget it. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Layla called after me. Lou, wait. You know where to find me, I said over my shoulder. Just look for the line of people who aren't ashamed to eat our food. As I reached my car, another email came through. This one from a local news station, wanting to feature zesty za'atar in their Hidden Gems segment. I touched Tita's pendant and smiled through my tears. Watch me now, I whispered, starting the engine. Just watch me now. Behind me, through the dining room window, I could see my family still seated at the table, their celebratory dinner forgotten. Layla was standing, gesturing at something on her phone, probably our Instagram page. For the first time since I'd started this journey, their opinions didn't matter. I had a food festival to prepare for. A charity event. Kendall raised her eyebrows as we prepped for the morning rush. On top of the food festival prep, hear me out, I said, chopping parsley for tabbouleh. Remember Maria, the single mom who comes by every Tuesday? She gave me this idea. Marin, perched on our prep counter, nodded enthusiastically. The one with the twins, she's always sharing our posts in her single mom support group. Exactly. These women are working multiple jobs, raising kids alone, and still trying to put healthy food on the table. I wiped my hands on my apron. We could do a special event. All proceeds go to their support network. Plus, Kendall grinned, it'll drive Gregory absolutely insane to see you succeeding and being charitable while he's just succeeding. This isn't about Gregory, I protested, but couldn't hide my smile. Okay, maybe it's a little about Gregory. My phone buzzed. A text from Layla. Need to talk. Coming by the truck today. Don't tell Mom. Speaking of family drama, I showed them the message. Your sister's been commenting on every post lately, Marin observed. Even defended us against some troll last week. Before I could respond, a familiar voice called through the service window. Is this a private meeting or can anyone join? I spun around to find Amanda, my former colleague from the tech company, grinning at me. Amanda, what are you doing here? Besides craving your shawarma, I'm here about the food festival. She pulled out a business card. I'm on the organizing committee this year. My heart skipped. You're the one who recommended us? After tasting your food at Marcus's wedding, how could I not? She leaned in. But that's not all. We want to feature you in the festival's promotional campaign. Your story's exactly what we're looking for. Corporate dropout turned successful entrepreneur, preserving cultural heritage through food. And pissing off her family in the process, Kendall added helpfully. Amanda laughed. That too. The whole proving them wrong angle. People eat that up. No pun intended. Just then, Layla appeared behind Amanda, looking nervous in her designer suit. Lou, can we talk? Perfect timing, I said. We're planning a charity event. Want to help? Layla glanced around uncertainly, then straightened her shoulders. Actually, yes, And I might have an idea. We gathered around our tiny prep table as Layla pulled out her tablet. So, I may have mentioned your success to some people at work. Our marketing team is looking for local businesses to partner with for community outreach. Hold up, I interrupted. You want your fancy marketing firm to partner with your embarrassing food truck sister? Stop it, she said firmly. I was wrong, okay? We were all wrong. And I want to help make it right. Amanda clapped her hands. This is perfect. A corporate-sponsored charity event right before the food festival. The press will love it. My head spun. Press? Trust me, Amanda winked. I know some people at the local stations. Between this and the festival feature, you'll be the talk of the Bay Area food scene. Maren squeezed my arm. Think about it, Lou. This could help so many people. I looked at Layla, really looked at her. Gone was the condescending sister who'd sided with Gregory. In her place was someone who seemed genuinely excited about my success. Okay, I said, but we do this my way. No corporate sanitizing. This is about real food and real people. Agreed, Layla nodded. And I want to help cook, like we used to with Tita. The prep table went quiet. Kendall dropped a spoon. You want to cook? I asked carefully. You haven't cooked since Teta died, I know. Layla's voice softened. Maybe it's time to change that. Amanda cleared her throat. Well, this just got even better. Sister reunited with sister through family recipes. The media will... No, I cut her off. This part stays private. Some things aren't for publicity. Layla's eyes welled up. Thank you. We spent the next hour planning. The event would feature traditional Lebanese dishes, each with a story connecting it to the community we were helping. Layla's firm would handle promotion and matching donations. Maren offered her truck as additional kitchen space. One more thing, Layla said as she was leaving. Greg knows I'm here. He might tell Mom and Dad. Let him, I said, touching Tita's pendant. They can't stop this anymore. After everyone left, Kendall bumped my shoulder. You okay? Better than okay, I smiled, pulling out Teta's recipe book. We're going to need more za'atar. My phone buzzed again. Gregory this time. What did you say to Layla? She's lost her mind. I typed back, actually, big brother, I think she just found it. See you at the event. Turning back to the prep table, I felt lighter than I had in months. The charity event, the food festival, Layla's support, everything was falling into place. And somewhere, I knew Tita was watching, probably laughing at how her recipes were still bringing the family together, whether they liked it or not. You're doing it wrong, I said, watching Layla struggle with the grape leaves. Tita would be rolling in her grave seeing you roll these like burritos. Well, I'm sorry my grape leaf rolling skills got rusty during my years of corporate slavery, she laughed, trying again. We were in my apartment's kitchen, practicing for the charity event. Here, I demonstrated the technique. Tighter at the start, then gentle as you roll, like swaddling a baby. You sound just like her, Layla said softly. Remember how she'd smack our hands when we tried to sneak the finished ones? Only because you kept eating all the vegetarian ones before the meat ones were done. The doorbell rang, Maren arriving with more supplies. Ladies, the local news crew confirmed for next week. They want to film the prep and interview some of the single mums we're helping. Perfect, I said, checking my phone. Maria's bringing 5 other mums to help prep. They're all excited to learn the recipes. Speaking of excitement, Layla cleared her throat. Mum called me this morning. My hands froze mid-roll. And? She saw the event posting online. Dad too. They're coming. The grape leaf in my hand tore. What? They want to see what all the fuss is about. Greg's coming too. Maren whistled low. Full family reunion, huh? Should I bring popcorn? It's fine, I said, though my voice shook. They can come. They can see exactly what their street vendor daughter has built. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Your father and I will attend your event. Please dress appropriately. Dress appropriately, I read aloud. What does she think I'm going to wear? A garbage bag? Actually, Layla pulled out her phone, showing me a website. I might have an idea about that. The page showed modern, professional chefs' coats with Middle Eastern designs. They're hand-embroidered by immigrant women in Oakland, she explained. Part of that community outreach program I mentioned. Layla. I touched the screen, tracing the delicate patterns. These are beautiful. Already ordered one, with Teta's name embroidered in Arabic above the heart. I hugged her, getting flour all over her expensive blouse. When did you become so thoughtful? Probably around the time I realized my little food truck sister was braver than all of us combined. Marin cleared her throat. Hate to break up the sister moment, but we've got 50 pounds of potatoes to peel for the batata hara. We spent the next few hours prepping, testing recipes, and finalizing the event layout. Layla's grape leaves gradually improved, though she still couldn't match Teta's perfect rolls. The news crew wants to know our angle, Marin said, reading an email. They're thinking, corporate sister versus food truck sister, a story of redemption. No way, Layla and I said simultaneously. This isn't about family drama, I added. It's about community, about feeding people who need it, about... I touched my pendant. About legacy. Speaking of legacy, Layla pulled out an old photo from her purse. Found this in Mum's albums. The photo showed Tita at a community dinner, surrounded by women learning to cook. Her smile was radiant as she demonstrated how to shape man-oosh. Look at the date, Layla pointed. 1982, I read. Wait, isn't that when Mum was in college? Yeah, Tita was teaching cooking classes to new immigrants, helping them feel at home. The money helped pay Mum's tuition. My eyes stung. She never told us. Maybe she was trying to forget, Layla said. But I think that's why this bothers her so much. You're doing exactly what Teta did, and it reminds her of where she came from. Where we all came from, I corrected, whether they want to admit it or not. My phone chimed with another message, from Gregory this time. Dad's asking about investment opportunities in food truck fleets. What did you do to this family? I showed the message to Layla, who burst out laughing. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Ladies, Marin interrupted, focus. We have 3 days to prepare food for 200 people, coordinate with the news crew, and somehow survive a family reunion. Less laughing, more cooking. But as we worked into the evening, the laughter continued. Layla shared stories about Gregory's failed attempts to cook for his girlfriend. Marin taught us curse words in Spanish. Even Mum texted again, this time asking if she should bring Tita's special serving platters. You know what? I said, surveying our progress. Let them come. Let them all come. They'll see exactly what food truck success looks like. They'll see what family looks like, Layla corrected, finally mastering a perfect grape leaf roll, even if it takes some time to remember. Looking at my sister, covered in flour and beaming with pride over her grape leaves, I realized she was right. This wasn't just about proving them wrong anymore. It was about showing them who we really were, who we'd always been. 3 days to go. Bring it on. They're here, Kendall hissed, nudging me as I adjusted my new chef's coat. Through the crowd, I spotted my parents and Gregory, looking painfully overdressed for a food truck charity event. Keep cooking, I told the team of single moms working alongside us. This changes nothing. The event space buzzed with energy. Both food trucks were serving at full capacity, with lines wrapping around the block. Local news crews circulated, interviewing guests and filming the cooking demonstrations. Lucia, Mom's voice carried across the prep area. She stood awkwardly, clutching Teta's antique serving platters. Where should I put these? Over here, Layla jumped in, guiding her to the display table. Look, Mom, we're using Teta's recipes, just like she taught us. Mom's eyes swept over the scene, the women cooking, the crowds enjoying the food, the professional setup. Her expression wavered between pride and uncertainty. Is that Zata Manushi? A small voice piped up. One of Maria's twins stood in front of Mom, pointing at the platter she held. Yes, Mom answered automatically. My mother, she used to make it every morning. Lucia taught my mommy how to make it. The little girl beamed. Now we have it for breakfast too. I watched Mom's face soften as Maria approached. Your daughter's food truck changed our lives, Maria told her. Now I can cook healthy meals for my girls, and the support group has become like family. Before Mom could respond, the news crew descended. Mrs. Lewis, how does it feel seeing your daughter's success? Mom straightened her shoulders, years of social training kicking in. But before she could speak, Gregory cut in. Actually, our family has always supported local businesses, he said smoothly, stepping into frame. We're proud to see Lucia carrying on our grandmother's legacy. I nearly dropped my spatula. Kendall muttered, The audacity. Is that so? The reporter turned to me. Lucia, your brother seems very supportive. Has it always been this way? I locked eyes with Gregory, seeing the challenge there. He thought he could rewrite our story with one smooth interview. Actually, I said, this event is about something bigger than family drama. It's about community. Every woman here has a story about feeding their family against the odds. That's the legacy worth talking about. The reporter's eyes lit up. Can you tell us more about these women? I gestured to Maria and the others. Why don't you ask them yourself? They're the real story here. As the crew moved away, Dad approached the truck. Impressive setup, he said gruffly. Very professional. Thanks, I said, continuing to cook. Did you try the food yet? We were waiting for a good moment. The food's getting cold, Brandon, Mom called out, and I noticed she was already sampling the hummus with Maria's twins. This tastes just like your mother's. Here, I handed Dad a plate of shish tawuk. Teta's recipe, exactly how she made it for your law school graduation. His hands shook slightly as he took a bite. For a moment, he was silent. Well? I asked. It's perfect, he whispered. How did you remember? I paid attention, I said simply. Every Sunday in her kitchen, I paid attention. The event continued to buzz around us. Layla was teaching a group of women how to roll grape leaves, somewhat ironically, given her recent lessons. Gregory hovered near the news crew, occasionally glancing at the growing crowd with poorly concealed surprise. Lucia! Amanda from the festival committee waved frantically. The mayor just arrived. He wants to try everything. As I prepared a tasting platter, I caught sight of my reflection in the truck's window. The embroidered chef's coat gleamed under the lights, Teta's name in Arabic script right above my heart. Below it, the cedar tree pendant she gave me caught the sunlight. Your grandmother would be proud, a voice said. I turned to find Mom standing there, her eyes wet. Not just of the food, but of this. She gestured to the women cooking, the families eating, the community gathered together. Really? I asked. Because last month I was just a street vendor embarrassing the family. I was wrong, she said quietly. We were all wrong. This is exactly what she would have wanted. Before I could respond, Brandon Young himself, my father, stepped up to the truck window. Lucia, he said formally, I'd like to discuss a business proposition. Dad, I'm not coming back to corporate. No, he interrupted. I'd like to invest in your expansion plans. The kitchen fell silent. Even Kendall stopped cooking. What? I managed. Your brother did some research. Food truck empires are apparently quite profitable when properly managed. And with the festival coming up, I held up my hand. Let me stop you right there. I built this myself. Without family money, without family support. I'm not changing that now. He nodded slowly. I understand. But perhaps we could discuss it over dinner. Your mother could teach me how to make that hummus properly. Behind him, Mom was already exchanging recipes with Maria. We'll see, I said, but I was smiling. Right now, I have customers to feed. And they were finally among them. It's time for the speech, Kendall whispered, nudging me toward the small stage we'd set up. The evening sun cast long shadows across the event space. where hundreds of people still mingled, ate, and shared stories. "I hate public speaking," I muttered, adjusting my chef's coat. "Too bad," Marin grinned. "The news crews are waiting. Make it good." I took the microphone, heart pounding. My family sat in the front row, Mom still trading recipes with Maria, Dad taking notes on his phone, Gregory looking simultaneously impressed and uncomfortable. Layla gave me a thumbs up from where she stood with the other volunteers. "When I started Zesty Za'atar," I began, "people told me I was throwing my life away. Trading a corporate career for a food truck? It seemed crazy." The crowd quieted, listening. But here's the thing about food. It's never just about feeding people. It's about story, about heritage, about the grandmother who taught you how to fold grape leaves just right, or the mother who wakes up early to make man-ushi for her children. I touched Teta's pendant. My grandmother fed people because that's how she showed love. She taught cooking classes to immigrant women because she remembered what it was like to be new in this country, missing the tastes of home. Every recipe she passed down wasn't just about ingredients, it was about belonging. In the audience, Mom wiped her eyes. Today, when I watch Maria teach her daughters the recipes they learned from our truck, or see women from our support group sharing cooking tips, I realize something. Success isn't measured in corporate titles or corner offices. Gregory shifted in his seat. Success is measured in the lives you touch, the communities you build, the traditions you keep alive. I gestured to the women who'd been cooking alongside us. Every woman here has a story. Sarah works 3 jobs and still makes time to cook traditional meals for her kids. Amira started a small catering business after learning recipes here. Maria's twins now bring homemade Lebanese snacks to school and teach their friends the names in Arabic. The news cameras moved closer as I continued. Some people look at a food truck and see something small, something common. I met Gregory's eyes. But I look at this truck and see my grandmother's legacy. I see women supporting women. I see culture being preserved and passed on. I see strength. Layla was openly crying now, and even Gregory looked affected. To everyone who said I was making a mistake, thank you. Your doubt made me work harder. Your dismissal made me more determined. And your absence made room for this amazing community to become my new family. I raised my glass. To all the women here today who feed their families with love, who keep their traditions alive, who work impossible hours and still make time to learn new recipes. This success belongs to you too. And to my grandmother, who taught me that food is love, and love is revolution. This is all because of you. The crowd erupted in applause. Maria's twins ran up to hug me. Through tears, I saw Dad stand up, clapping with genuine pride on his face. But it was Gregory who reached the stage first. "Lou," he said, taking the microphone. "I need to say something." The crowd hushed. Kendall moved protectively closer to me. "I was wrong," he said simply. "We were all wrong. We measured success by our standards, not yours. But looking around today," he gestured to the thriving event, the news crews, the happy families. "This is success by any measure." Mom stood up. "May I?" She took the microphone with trembling hands. "My mother, your tita, used to say that food is memory. When she died, I tried to forget because remembering hurt too much. But watching you today, Lucia, you didn't just remember. You brought her back to life. You made her proud." I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. Layla joined us on stage, wrapping an arm around me. "And you," Mom turned to the crowd, "all of you who supported my daughter when we didn't, thank you. Thank you for seeing what we were too blind to see. The news crews were eating it up, but I barely noticed them. For the first time since starting this journey, I felt truly seen by my family." Amanda rushed to the stage. "Lucia, the festival committee just called. They want to feature Zesty Za'atar as the headline vendor next month." More applause, more tears, more hugs. As the evening wound down, I found myself sitting with my family, sharing plates of food just like we used to at Teta's house. Gregory was actually helping clean up. Dad was discussing expansion plans with Maria's husband, who owned a restaurant supply company. Mom and Layla were teaching the twins how to properly wrap stuffed grape leaves. "You did it, Habibi," Kendall said, sitting beside me. "You really did it." I watched my old family and new family blend together, sharing food and stories as the sun set over Silicon Valley. Success tasted like za'atar and felt like home. "No," I corrected her, touching Teta's pendant one last time. "We did it, all of us." And somewhere I knew Teta was smiling. "Perfect weather for the festival," Kendall said, as we set up our featured vendor booth at the Bay Area Food Festival. The morning fog was just lifting, revealing the waterfront location where thousands would soon gather. "Almost too perfect," I agreed, arranging Teta's platters on our display. The festival organizers had given us prime positioning, complete with a demonstration kitchen and seating area. "Need help with those?" Gregory appeared, wearing a zesty za'atar t-shirt that still made me do a double take. He'd been showing up regularly at the truck since the charity event, learning recipes between his financial analyst shifts. "You can start the marinade," I said, "just like I showed you." "Don't let him near the tomb," Layla called out, arriving with Mom. They carried baskets of fresh herbs from Mum's garden. She'd started growing them specifically for the truck. "Very funny," Gregory muttered, but he was smiling. "One batch of garlic sauce goes wrong." "Wrong is an understatement," Kendall laughed. "That sauce could have stripped paint." The festival grounds buzzed with activity as other vendors set up. Several waved to us. We'd become part of the local food community, sharing tips and supporting each other's businesses. "Look who's here," Mom pointed. Maria and her twins approached, wearing matching aprons. "Ready to help," the girls chorused. They'd become regular fixtures at the truck, learning to cook alongside their mother. "Perfect timing," I said. "We need our best grape leaf rollers." Dad arrived last, carrying a surprise, Tita's old wooden rolling pin. "Found this in the attic," he said. "Thought you might want it for the demonstration." I ran my fingers over the worn wood, feeling the grooves from years of use. "It's perfect." The festival opened, and crowds poured in. Our line quickly became the longest, thanks partly to the charity event publicity. The news crew's feature had gone viral, drawing foodies from across the state. "Is it true?" a woman asked as I served her shawarma. "Did you really leave tech to start this?" "Best decision I ever made," I said, catching Gregory's eye as he expertly plated hummus. "Even better decision was letting us help," he added, making me laugh. The demonstration kitchen segment arrived faster than expected. I stood before the crowd, Teta's rolling pin in hand, ready to share her recipes. "Before we start," I said into the microphone, "I want to share something. This rolling pin belonged to my grandmother, who taught me that food is more than sustenance. It's story, it's family, it's love." The audience leaned in, captivated. She also taught me that success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. So today, I'm not just teaching you how to make manouche. I'm teaching you how to believe in your own path, even when others don't see it yet. Mom stepped forward. "And sometimes," she added, taking the microphone, "those who doubt you the most just need time to remember their own forgotten dreams." Together, we demonstrated Teta's techniques, sharing stories between steps. The audience asked questions, took notes, shared their own family recipes. It felt like one of Teta's cooking classes, expanded to include hundreds. Near the end of the day, Amanda rushed over with news. The festival committee voted. Zesty Za'atar won Best in Show. The celebration that followed blended everything I loved: family, food, community. Gregory high-fived Kendall. Layla hugged Maria's twins. Mom taught a group of young women how to properly blend za'atar, while Dad proudly filmed everything. "One more surprise," Layla announced, unveiling a frame. Inside was the photo of Teta teaching her cooking class, alongside a recent photo of me doing the same at the charity event. Below them, a news article headline read, "Legacy of Love, How one food truck rebuilt a family through food. This belongs in the truck, Mom said softly, next to her recipes. As the festival wound down, we gathered for a family meal. Not just my biological family, but the entire extended family we'd built. Maria and her girls, Kendall and Maren, regular customers who'd become friends, all sharing dishes, swapping stories, building connections. You know what this means, Gregory said, helping pack up. You've officially surpassed my corporate success. It was never a competition, I replied, but he shook his head. Maybe not for you, but watching you succeed your way, it made me question everything I thought I knew about success. Mom overheard and joined us. Your tita used to say, feed the body, nourish the soul. I forgot that for a while. Thank you for remembering. Looking around at our expanded family, at the award-winning food truck that started it all, at Teta's rolling pin now passed to a new generation, I felt complete. Not because I'd proven them wrong, but because we'd all found our way back to what mattered most. So, Dad called out, "Who's hungry for dinner?" Everyone raised their hands, laughing, ready for another meal together. Because that's what family does. We gather, we eat, we love, we grow. Just like Tita taught us, just like she always knew we would.
I smoothed my dress for the 100th time, watching the city lights blur past our car window. 10 years of marriage, and tonight was supposed to be perfect. I'm Lana, and in exactly 47 minutes, my entire world would shatter into a million pieces. You seem nervous, Matthew said, his hand resting on my knee. The same hand that had held mine through countless moments, good and bad. The same hand that I would soon learn had been slowly strangling everything I held dear. Just excited, I replied, forcing a smile. It's not every day we celebrate our 10th anniversary. The restaurant was exactly what you'd expect for such a milestone. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, and the soft murmur of expensive conversations. Matthew's family had already arrived, occupying the private room he'd reserved. His sister Susan rushed to embrace me, her perfume overwhelming. "The golden couple," she exclaimed, pulling back to examine my face. "Lana, you look absolutely radiant." I noticed Emily, my 16-year-old daughter, sitting quietly in the corner. She seemed unusually tense, her fingers fidgeting with her napkin. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away. "Something wrong, sweetheart?" I asked, moving toward her. Before she could answer, Matthew clinked his glass, commanding everyone's attention. "I'd like to make a toast," he announced, his voice carrying that familiar authority that had first attracted me to him. The room fell silent. 10 years ago, I married this beautiful woman, he began, gesturing toward me, and tonight, I think it's time for some honesty. My stomach dropped. There was something in his tone, something cruel I'd never heard before. "Lana," he continued, "you've been a wonderful wife, but as they say, all good things must come to an end." The room grew impossibly quiet. I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. "I'm filing for divorce," he declared, his lips curving into what I can only describe as a smirk. "And I have an announcement that might explain why." He walked over to Emily, placing his hand on her shoulder. She flinched, but didn't move away. "Emily and I have fallen in love." The words hit me like a physical blow. Several gasps echoed around the room, followed by murmurs of shock. But then, to my horror, I watched as his family's expressions transformed from surprise to acceptance, even approval. Susan actually smiled, raising her glass. "To new beginnings." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. The tension in her shoulders, the fear in her eyes. This wasn't love. This was predation. "Emily," I said softly, "come here, baby." She practically leaped from her chair, crossing the room to stand beside me. Her hand found mine, squeezing it tight. Matthew's smile faltered slightly. "Now, Lana, don't make this difficult. Emily and I—" "Stop talking." My voice was ice. "My 16-year-old daughter? Really, Matthew?" He straightened his tie, regaining his composure. "She's very mature for her age, and these things, well, they just happen." His family nodded in agreement, like this was all perfectly normal. Like my husband hadn't just announced his intentions toward my child. I felt Emily trembling beside me, and something inside me solidified. 10 years of suspicious business trips, of mysterious phone calls, of documents hastily hidden when I entered rooms, it all clicked into place. "Well," I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning through my veins, "I suppose I should thank you for making this so public." Confusion flickered across his face. I smiled, the kind of smile that promises war. "See you in court, Matthew." His smug expression wavered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I replied, gathering my purse and wrapping an arm around Emily, "that you really should have checked what your stepdaughter was doing when she was helping in your home office all these years." The color drained from his face as Emily and I walked toward the door. Behind us, I heard Susan's sharp intake of breath and Matthew's chair scraping against the floor. "Lana, wait." But we were already gone, stepping into the cool night air. Emily's hand was still in mine, steady now. "Mom," she whispered, "I have everything. Everything he did, everything he said. All of it." I pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. "I know, baby, I know." I'd raised a smart girl after all. While Matthew had been plotting his sick little game, we'd been building a case that would destroy him. As we climbed into a taxi, I caught a glimpse of Matthew through the restaurant window, his face contorted with rage. He thought he had all the power, but he'd forgotten one crucial thing: never underestimate a mother protecting her child. The game was just beginning, and I intended to win. The morning after the anniversary disaster, I sat across from Royal Ramirez in his corner office, watching him flip through the files Emily and I had compiled over the past year. "This is..." He paused, adjusting his glasses. "Remarkable, Lana. How long have you suspected?" "The embezzlement? About 2 years," I replied, reaching for my coffee. But I needed proof. That's where Emily came in. Royal spread several documents across his desk. Bank statements, emails, and photographs created a paper trail of Matthew's corruption. "And your daughter gathered all this?" "He never saw her as a threat," I said, bitter smile playing on my lips. "Just his young, naive stepdaughter who loved helping in his office, the perfect cover." A knock at the door interrupted us. Emily entered, clutching her laptop. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept much. "I found more," she announced, setting the computer down. "Remember those weekend trips he took to the Cayman Islands?" Royal leaned forward. "Show me." Emily pulled up a series of encrypted emails. "He's been moving money through shell companies, lots of it, and look who helps manage the accounts." "Susan," I breathed, recognizing the name on the documents. His own sister. "There's something else," Emily said, her voice shaking slightly. She pulled out her phone and played an audio recording. Matthew's voice filled the room. "Once the divorce is final, we'll transfer everything offshore. Lana won't see a penny. And Emily, sweetheart, we can finally be together." My stomach churned at his sickening tone. Emily's hand trembled as she stopped the recording. "He started suggesting things about 6 months ago," she explained, not meeting my eyes. I played along, pretending to be flattered. It made him careless. He'd leave his office unlocked, his computer logged in. I reached across the desk and grabbed her hand. "I'm so sorry you had to do that, baby." "Don't be," she said firmly. "He deserves everything that's coming to him." Royal cleared his throat. "This is excellent work, but we need more. Specifically about the offshore accounts. Do you have any contacts inside his company?" "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "I might know someone. Jarrett Cox. Matthew fired him last year when he started asking too many questions about the company's finances." I dialed Jarrett's number, putting him on speaker. "Lana?" His voice crackled through. "I heard about what happened at the restaurant. Are you okay?" "I'm better than okay, Jarrett. I'm with my lawyer and we need your help. Remember those irregularities you found in the Asian market investments?" "You mean the ones that got me fired?" "Yeah, I kept copies of everything. Matthew thought he'd destroyed all the evidence, but I'm not an idiot." Royal interjected, "Mr. Cox, would you be willing to testify?" "Against Matthew? In a heartbeat. That bastard destroyed my career. I'll bring you everything I have tomorrow morning." After ending the call, Royal sat back, a satisfied look on his face. "With Jarrett's evidence added to what you already have, we can nail him on multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and..." He glanced at Emily. "Other charges." My phone buzzed. A text from Susan. "We need to talk. Coffee, just us girls." I showed it to Royal, who nodded slowly. Meter, wear this. He pulled a small recording device from his desk drawer. We need to know what she knows. As Emily and I left Royal's office, she suddenly stopped in the hallway. Mom, what if it's not enough? What if he still wins? I turned to face her, seeing not just my brave daughter who'd helped gather evidence, but also the scared girl who'd been manipulated by a predator. Listen to me, I said, holding her shoulders. Matthew thinks he's untouchable because he's always gotten away with everything. But he made 2 fatal mistakes. He underestimated you, and he forgot that I've been watching him for years. We have the evidence, we have the witnesses, and most importantly, we have the truth. She nodded, straightening her spine. When are you meeting Susan? In an hour, I replied, checking my phone. At that pretentious cafe she loves. Be careful, Emily warned. She's almost as bad as he is. I hugged her tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. Don't worry, Susan thinks she's coming to negotiate. She doesn't realize she's walking into a trap. As we headed to the elevator, I felt a surge of determination. Matthew had spent years building his house of cards, thinking himself invincible. Now, piece by piece, we would watch it fall, and I would make sure he felt every single moment of it. The cafe was busy when I arrived, but I spotted Susan immediately, perched at a corner table like a vulture waiting for its prey. The recording device felt heavy against my ribs. Lana, darling, she cooed, rising to air-kiss my cheek. I took the liberty of ordering your usual vanilla latte. How thoughtful, I replied, sliding into my seat, though I switched to black coffee months ago, less sugar. Her perfectly painted smile flickered. Of course, my mistake. Like the mistake of helping your brother hide millions in offshore accounts? The coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. I don't know what you're talking about. Grand Cayman Bank, account number 84793. I started reciting, watching her face pale. Should I continue? She set her cup down carefully, manicured nails clicking against the porcelain. What do you want? The truth would be nice, starting with how long you've known about Matthew's plans for my daughter. Susan leaned forward, dropping her voice. Listen, Lana, Emily is practically a woman now. These things happen. If you fight this, you'll lose everything. Matthew has connections. Like Judge Harrison, I interrupted. The one he's been bribing? Another crack in her composure. These are dangerous accusations. No, Susan, these are facts. Facts I can prove. The door chimed and Jarrett walked in, right on schedule. He nodded at me before taking a seat at the adjacent table, close enough to hear everything. Susan's eyes darted between us. Who is that? Just another piece of the puzzle you and Matthew didn't clean up properly. Her voice turned sharp. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you a chance, I corrected. One chance to do the right thing before everything comes crashing down. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. You really think you can take on Matthew? He'll destroy you. Like he destroyed Jarrett? I gestured to the next table. Tell her what happened, Jarrett. He turned in his chair. Hello, Susan. Remember me? The accountant your brother fired for finding his money laundering scheme? The color drained from her face. That was a misunderstanding. The SEC doesn't think so, Jarrett cut in. They were very interested in the documents I saved. Susan's hand shook as she reached for her purse. This conversation is over. One more thing, I said, pulling out my phone. Emily wanted me to play something for you. I hit play on one of the recordings. Matthew's voice filled our corner of the cafe. Susan's handling the transfers. Once you're 18, Emily, we'll have everything set up. A new life. Just us. Stop, Susan whispered, looking sick. Just stop. That's what Emily wanted to say, too. Multiple times. But your brother wouldn't listen. She stood abruptly, knocking her coffee over. You don't understand. He'll come after all of us. No, Susan, we're coming after him. The only question is, which side of the courtroom do you want to be on? As she hurried out, Jarrett moved to my table. Think she'll flip? She's scared, I said, watching her through the window as she practically ran to her car. And scared people make mistakes. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Mom, come home now. Found something huge in his private email. I have to go, I told Jarrett. Meet us at Royal's office tomorrow morning? He nodded. I'll bring everything I have. And Lana, be careful. Matthew's not going to take this lying down. I drove home quickly, finding Emily at the dining room table, her laptop open and her face pale. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen toward me. The email was dated 3 months ago, sent to a private account in Switzerland. My heart stopped as I read the contents, details of a plan so elaborate, so cruel, it took my breath away. "He was never going to let us go," Emily whispered. "He was going to—" "I know, baby." I pulled her close, my mind racing. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about survival. My phone rang, Royal's number flashing on the screen. "Lana," he said without preamble, "we need to move fast. Matthew just called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning." "He's going to try to liquidate everything," I realized. "Exactly. Whatever you and Emily found, bring it now. We're filing for an emergency injunction tonight." I looked at my daughter, saw the determination in her eyes matching my own. "We'll be there in 20 minutes. As we gathered our evidence, I couldn't help but think about Susan's warning. Matthew would come after us with everything he had. But what he didn't know was that we were ready. More than ready. The war was about to begin, and we had just found our nuclear option. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Matthew strutted in, flanked by 3 expensive lawyers. His confident smirk faltered when he saw Jarrett sitting behind our table, manila folders stacked neatly in front of him. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. Not Judge Harrison, as Matthew had expected. His legal team exchanged worried glances. "Your Honor," Royal began, standing, "we're here seeking an emergency injunction against Mr. Elliott's attempts to liquidate company assets, and we have evidence of extensive financial fraud." Matthew's lead lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. These are baseless accusations from a vindictive, soon-to-be ex-wife." "Baseless?" Royal raised an eyebrow. "Let's start with Exhibit A." He projected the first document onto the courtroom screen, a series of wire transfers to the Cayman Islands. Matthew's face tightened. "These transfers," Royal continued, "total over $12 million in the past 18 months alone, money that mysteriously disappeared from company accounts. Business investments," Matthew's lawyer argued, "completely legitimate." "Really?" Royal clicked to the next slide. "Then perhaps you can explain why they were routed through shell companies owned by Mr. Elliott's sister." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. I noticed Susan, sitting in the back, shift uncomfortably in her seat. "Furthermore," Royal pressed on, "we have testimony from a former employee regarding these transactions." Jarrett stood, walking to the witness stand. As he was sworn in, I saw Matthew's knuckles turn white as he gripped the table. "Mr. Cox," Royal began, "please tell the court about what you discovered last year." "I was the senior accountant," Jarrett testified. "I found discrepancies in the Asian market accounts, large sums being diverted through a series of shell companies. When I brought this to Mr. Elliott's attention, he fired me and threatened to destroy my career if I spoke up." Matthew leaned forward, whispering furiously to his lawyers. One of them stood. "Your Honor, this is clearly a disgruntled ex-employee seeking revenge." "I have the original documents," Jarrett interrupted, "with Mr. Elliott's signature authorizing each illegal transfer, and emails discussing how to hide them from the board and shareholders." The judge leaned forward. "I'd like to see those documents." As the evidence was presented, I watched Matthew's composure crack. His eyes darted around the room, finally landing on Emily in the gallery. The predatory look that crossed his face made my blood boil. "Your Honor," Royal said, "we have one more witness, Emily." Matthew's lawyer shot to his feet. "Objection, she's a minor." "A minor," Royal countered, "who Mr. Elliott has claimed he intends to marry. I believe her testimony is highly relevant." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Emily walked to the stand, her head high. She looked directly at Matthew as she was sworn in. "Emily," Royal began gently, "can you tell us about the documents you found in Mr. Elliott's home office?" "Objection," Matthew's lawyer shouted. "Any documents obtained without consent were in plain sight," Emily cut in. "On the computer I was explicitly given access to for homework help." The judge overruled the objection. Emily pulled out her phone. "I also recorded conversations," she continued, "like this one from last month." Matthew's voice filled the courtroom. "Once we get rid of your mother, we'll have everything. The money's already moved. She'll never find it." The recording continued, becoming increasingly inappropriate. Several jurors looked disgusted. Susan quietly stood and slipped out of the courtroom. Your Honor, Royal said, we have extensive evidence of financial crimes, attempted fraud, and inappropriate conduct with a minor. We ask that all company assets be frozen immediately. The judge studied Matthew, who was now visibly sweating. Mr. Elliott, would you like to address these allegations? Matthew stood, straightening his tie. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. I can explain. Save it for the criminal trial, the judge cut in. I'm granting the emergency injunction. All assets are frozen pending full investigation. And Mr. Elliott, she added, her voice steel, I'm issuing a restraining order. You are to have no contact with Emily or her mother. As the gavel fell, Matthew lunged toward our table. You lying little... 2 court officers grabbed him before he could finish. Emily didn't flinch, staring him down as he was pulled away. Outside the courtroom, Royal smiled. This is just the beginning. The criminal charges will be filed tomorrow. I hugged Emily close, watching Matthew being led away in handcuffs, his perfect world crumbling around him. But something in his eyes, a dangerous glint of desperation, told me this wasn't over. He still has something planned, Emily whispered, seeing it too. Let him try, I replied. We're ready. The criminal trial began 3 weeks later. I sat in the front row, watching Matthew's mask of confidence slip further with each new piece of evidence. His expensive suit couldn't hide the toll of jail time. He'd lost weight and dark circles shadowed his eyes. The prosecution calls Susan May to the stand. The district attorney announced. Matthew's head snapped up as his sister walked to the witness box. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Ms. May, the DA began, please tell the court about the offshore accounts you managed for your brother. Susan gripped the stand, her voice shaking. I helped Matthew move money through various shell companies. It started small, but over time... Objection, Matthew's lawyer interrupted. This witness was not offered immunity. Actually, the DA countered, Ms. May has entered into a cooperation agreement with the state. Matthew slammed his fist on the table. You treacherous bitch. Order. The judge's gavel cracked. Mr. Elliott, control yourself or you'll be removed. Susan continued, detailing years of financial manipulation. She described elaborate schemes to hide money, fake investments, and forged documents. With each revelation, Matthew's face grew darker. And what did your brother tell you about his plans regarding his stepdaughter? Susan dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. He said he'd been grooming her for months, that once she turned 18, they would disappear with the money. He laughed about it. The jury's disgust was palpable. One woman actually glared at Matthew, who was now whispering frantically to his lawyer. Next, the prosecution played Emily's videos. The courtroom watched in silence as Matthew appeared on screen, making inappropriate advances, discussing their future together, all while Emily pretended to be flattered while secretly recording everything. Your Honor, Matthew's lawyer stood. These videos were obtained without my client's consent. In a single-party consent state, the DA interrupted. Perfectly legal, as you well know. During a brief recess, Royal pulled me aside. Something's wrong. Matthew's too calm. What do you mean? He's got an ace up his sleeve. Watch Susan, she keeps checking her phone. Back in session, Matthew's defense began their case. His lawyer called a surprise witness, James Turner, the company's IT director. Mr. Turner, the lawyer began, what did you find when examining Ms. Emily's computer? Objection. Royal shot up. This witness wasn't on the list. Late discovery, Your Honor. Critical evidence came to light this morning. The judge allowed it. My stomach tightened as Turner testified. I found evidence of hacking, he claimed. Someone used that computer to illegally access company servers, plant false documents, and manipulate financial records. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Emily grabbed my hand, her face pale. He's lying, she whispered. I never... Royal stood. Your Honor, may I cross-examine? Proceed. Mr. Turner, when did you perform this analysis? This morning. And who ordered it? Ms. May. Royal smiled. The same Ms. May who just testified about her role in the fraud? The same Ms. May who's been sending text messages throughout these proceedings? Turner shifted uncomfortably. Your Honor, Royal continued, I'd like to enter into evidence these messages, obtained through Ms. May's cooperation agreement. He projected a series of texts onto the screen. Messages between Susan and Turner, planning this false testimony. Messages with Matthew, orchestrating one final attempt to discredit Emily. Furthermore, Royal added, we have Mr. Turner's banking records showing a $100,000 deposit made this morning from one of the known shell companies. Turner's face crumpled. Matthew leaped up, pointing at Susan. You promised you deleted those messages. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Bailiff, remove Mr. Elliott. As Matthew was dragged out shouting, Turner broke down on the stand. He made me do it, he sobbed. He said he'd ruin me if I didn't testify. The DA stood. Your Honor, the state moves to add witness tampering and obstruction of justice to the charges. By day's end, Turner had joined Susan in making a deal with prosecutors. Matthew's last desperate play had backfired spectacularly. Outside the courthouse, Royal looked satisfied. That's the last card he had to play. Tomorrow we present the final evidence. Emily hugged me tight. Is it really almost over? Almost, I promised, watching Susan hurry to her car. She looked haunted, destroyed by her own brother's manipulation. That night, as Emily and I sat in our secured apartment, Royal's insistence after the death threats started, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you've won? Watch the morning news. Some things can't be undone. I showed it to Emily, who immediately called Royal. Don't worry, he said after I read him the message. The police are monitoring everything. He's just trying to scare you. But as I looked at my daughter's worried face, I couldn't shake the feeling that Matthew had one final devastating move planned. The morning news hit like a bomb. I watched in horror as the anchor reported, breaking news. Massive data breach at Elliott Corp reveals thousands of compromised customer accounts. Sources say sensitive information was leaked by an inside source. My phone exploded with messages. Royals came first. Turn on your TV, now. Emily burst into my room, laptop in hand. Mom, they're trying to pin this on me. Look. She showed me social media posts already spreading like wildfire, claiming she had orchestrated the breach using her access to Matthew's computers. His supporters were calling for her arrest. Get dressed, I ordered. We're meeting Royal. As we rushed to the car, Jarrett called. Lana, I know what Matthew did. The breach came from an external server in Russia, but he's manipulated the logs to point to Emily's laptop. Can you prove it? Already working on it. But there's more. He's emptied the corporate pension fund. Thousands of employees just lost everything. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. He's burning it all down. Royal's office was chaos when we arrived. Phones ringing nonstop, reporters camping in the lobby. He ushered us into a private conference room where Susan waited, looking terrified. He's gone completely insane, she blurted out. He called me last night, laughing about his scorched earth plan. Said if he's going down, he's taking everyone with him. Where is he now? Royal demanded. Under house arrest at his penthouse, she replied. But he's got people helping him, loyal employees who still believe in him. Emily opened her laptop. Look what I found in his cloud backup. She played a video of Matthew, recorded recently in his penthouse. He stared into the camera, smirking. By now you've seen the news, he said. Poor Emily, such a troubled girl, hacking her stepfather's company. But that's just the beginning. Every hour more data will leak, more accounts compromised, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Actually, Jarrett said from the doorway, making us jump, there is. He walked in, holding up a flash drive. Remember that IT director who lied on the stand? He gave me access to the backup servers. I've got proof the breach came from Russia, and... He smiled grimly, evidence that Matthew ordered it himself. Royal grabbed his phone. I'm calling the DA. We need to move fast. Suddenly, Emily gasped. The offshore accounts, they're being drained right now. Look. Her screen showed real-time transfers emptying the hidden accounts we'd frozen, millions disappearing by the second. That's impossible, Susan whispered. Those accounts were locked. Unless someone with authorization unfroze them, I realized, staring at her. Someone like you. She backed away, reaching for her purse. I had no choice. He threatened my children. Royal blocked the door. Susan, don't make this worse. You don't understand, she sobbed. He's got everything planned. The data breach, the pension fund, the accounts. It's all a distraction. His real target is... She looked at Emily, horror in her eyes. My blood ran cold. What did he plan for Emily? Before she could answer, Jarrett's laptop pinged. Someone's accessing the company's private jet records. A flight plan was just filed for tonight. Destination, Dubai. No extradition, Royal muttered. My phone buzzed. A text from Matthew. Should have kept her away from computers. Too late now. Emily's laptop suddenly went black, then displayed a message. Access granted, download complete. He's in my computer, she cried. Everything's being wiped. Jarrett jumped into action, fingers flying over his keyboard. He's not just wiping it, he's planting evidence, making it look like Emily orchestrated everything. Call the police, Royal ordered, already dialing. We need officers at his penthouse now. But Susan was shaking her head. He's not there. The house arrest ankle monitor? He switched it hours ago. He's already gone. My phone buzzed again. Coming for what's mine. Say goodbye to Emily. The room erupted into action. Royal calling in favors, Jarrett tracing digital footprints, Susan finally breaking down and revealing more of the plan. But all I could focus on was Emily, my brave, brilliant daughter who had risked everything to expose this monster. Now he was trying to destroy her completely. Mom, she said quietly, taking my hand. I'm scared. Listen to me, I replied, steel in my voice. He thinks he's won, thinks he's destroyed everything, but he forgot the most important thing. What's that? I pulled out my own flash drive, the one I'd never told anyone about. I keep copies of everything, and I mean everything. For the first time that morning, Royal smiled. The hunter becomes the hunted. Exactly, I said, plugging in the drive. Time to end this, once and for all. Got him, Jarrett shouted, his laptop screen lighting up with coordinates. He's at the private airfield outside the city. Royal was already on the phone with the DA. We need that arrest warrant now. He's attempting to flee the country. I grabbed Emily's hand. Stay here with Jarrett. Susan, you're coming with me. What? No, I can't. You can and you will. I cut her off. Your brother needs to see your face when it all falls apart. Police sirens wailed as we raced to the airfield, Susan trembling in the passenger seat. 3 patrol cars flanked us, lights flashing. My phone was on speaker, connected to Jarrett and Emily. The jet's fueled and ready, Jarrett reported. But I've locked down the flight controls remotely. He's not going anywhere. We screeched to a halt at the airfield gates. Through the chain-link fence, I could see Matthew's private jet, its engines humming. A familiar figure was climbing the stairs. He's boarding, Susan cried. No, I smiled. He's trapped. The police burst through the gates, cars surrounding the jet. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. Matthew Elliott, a voice boomed over a megaphone. We have a warrant for your arrest. Exit the aircraft with your hands up. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the jet's door opened and Matthew appeared, still wearing his expensive suit, but now disheveled and wild-eyed. You're too late, he shouted. The money's gone, all of it, and Emily's reputation is destroyed. I stepped forward, holding up my flash drive. You mean this money? His face contorted. What? While you were busy planning your grand escape, I was tracking every transfer, every account, every fake transaction. It's all here, and it's already been sent to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. You're bluffing, he snarled, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Tell him, Susan. His sister stepped forward, her voice shaking but clear. The offshore accounts? I never actually unfroze them. Those transfers you saw? All fake. We were tracking where you tried to send the money. Matthew's face went from red to white. You betrayed me? No, brother. You betrayed yourself. My phone crackled. Mom, Emily's voice rang out. We've recovered everything from my laptop. Jarrett found proof the Russian hackers were hired directly by Matthew. We have the payment records. Matthew lunged down the stairs, but police officers tackled him before he could reach us. As they handcuffed him, he thrashed and screamed. You think this is over? I still have friends, powerful friends. Actually, Royal said, walking up with his phone out, you don't. The board of directors just voted unanimously to remove you and cooperate fully with authorities. They're quite interested in keeping themselves out of prison. The pension fund, Matthew started. Already recovered, I interrupted. You really should have changed your private banking passwords, dear. 10 years of marriage and you still used our anniversary date. His face crumpled as reality set in. Everything he'd built, every scheme he'd planned, was falling apart. Take him away, Royal nodded to the officers. And make sure he knows. Attempt to contact Emily again, and we'll add witness intimidation to the charges. As they led him to a police car, Matthew looked back at his sister. Susan, tell them you helped me. I did, she replied calmly. I told them everything. That's why I'm out here and not in handcuffs with you. The police car door slammed, and just like that, it was over. 10 years of manipulation, fraud, and betrayal ended in minutes. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Is it safe to come out now? All clear, baby. We did it. She arrived minutes later with Jarrett. As we watched Matthew's jet being searched by federal agents, Emily hugged me tight. They found 3 fake passports and offshore banking documents in the jet, Jarrett reported. He was planning to disappear completely. Royal cleared his throat. The DA wants to meet first thing tomorrow. With the new evidence, Matthew's looking at 20 years minimum, the federal charges alone. What about the company? Susan asked quietly. The board's appointing an interim CEO, Royal replied, and they're very interested in making things right with all the employees. I looked at my daughter, seeing the weight lift from her shoulders. Ready to go home? She nodded, then turned to Susan. Thank you for helping at the end. Susan wiped away tears. I'm so sorry. For everything. As we drove home, Emily finally smiled. Mom, think we can take a vacation? Somewhere far away from all this? Absolutely, I replied, watching the police cars disappear into the distance with Matthew. But first, we have a court date tomorrow. One last time to watch him face justice. Good, she said firmly. I want to see his face when they read the verdict. So did I. After all, karma was finally catching up to Matthew Elliott, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. The courtroom fell silent as the jury foreman stood. I gripped Emily's hand as we waited for the moment we'd fought so hard to reach. On the count of financial fraud in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Matthew's shoulders slumped. On the count of embezzlement, we find the defendant guilty. His lawyers shuffled their papers nervously. On the count of attempted exploitation of a minor, Emily squeezed my hand tighter. Guilty. The list continued, each guilty verdict another nail in the coffin of Matthew's empire. When the foreman finished, the judge cleared her throat. Mr. Elliott, please rise. Matthew stood, his designer suit hanging loose on his frame, his arrogance finally shattered. You have been found guilty of serious crimes against not only your company and its employees, but against your own family. Your attempts to manipulate and exploit your stepdaughter show a particular moral bankruptcy that this court finds reprehensible. She paused, looking directly at him. I sentence you to 25 years in federal prison. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution to the pension fund and affected employees. Your assets will be seized and liquidated to satisfy these obligations. The gavel cracked, and Matthew's legs gave out. As officers led him away, he looked back one last time. Emily, he called out weakly, I'm sorry. Save it, she cut him off, standing tall. I'm not your victim anymore. I'm the one who took you down. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Royal stepped forward, handling the press while Jarrett brought our car around. Mom, Emily said, tugging my sleeve. Look. Susan stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps, clutching a thick envelope. Before they take everything, she said, holding it out, I wanted you to have this. It's the deed to the beach house in Maine. I bought it with my own money, before everything. It's yours now. I started to protest, but she shook her head. Please, let me do one right thing. You and Emily deserve a fresh start. Emily took the envelope. Thank you, Aunt Susan. The board meeting went well, Jarrett announced, joining us. They're implementing all new oversight procedures, and he grinned at me. They want you to join the ethics committee, Lana. I laughed. After all this, I think I'm done with corporate life. Actually, Emily said, pulling up something on her phone, I have a better idea. Remember that small tech security firm that helped us trace Matthew's hackers? They're looking for partners. She showed me the proposal she'd drafted. A new company focused on protecting others from the kind of fraud and manipulation we'd experienced, using our story to make a difference. I already ran the numbers, Jarrett added. With my technical experience and your insight into corporate fraud, we could help people, Emily finished. Stop other Matthews before they destroy more families. Royal emerged from the press crowd. Whatever you decide, the civil suits are settled. The company's insurance will cover the pension fund, and the asset liquidation should handle the rest. What about the employees? I asked. Already taken care of. The board approved emergency bonuses to offset any hardship, and they're implementing that whistleblower protection program Emily designed. My daughter blushed. It just made sense. No one should be afraid to speak up. Susan cleared her throat. I should go. My flight to Seattle leaves soon. Fresh start? I asked. She nodded. Teaching high school math, about as far from corporate finance as I can get. As she walked away, Emily pulled out the beach house keys. So, Maine? I looked at my daughter, seeing not the scared girl from that anniversary dinner, but a strong young woman who'd faced down evil and won. Maine, I agreed. But first, I want to hear more about this security firm idea. Already got the perfect name, she grinned. Phoenix Securities, because we help people rise from the ashes. Jarrett raised an eyebrow. I'm in if you are. I hugged Emily close, breathing in the fresh air of freedom. Behind us, the courthouse stood as a symbol of justice served. Ahead, the future stretched bright and clear. Phoenix Securities it is, I decided, but we're still taking that vacation first. Emily laughed, the sound pure and unburdened. Deal, race you to the car. As I watched her run ahead, I felt the last weight lift from my shoulders. Matthew had tried to destroy us, but instead we'd emerged stronger, not as victims, but as survivors, as warriors. And somewhere in a prison cell, Matthew would have plenty of time to think about the women he'd underestimated, the family he'd betrayed, and the justice we'd fought so hard to win. We were finally truly free.
The rain pelted my face as I stood frozen, staring at the crumpled papers in my trembling hands. My entire world had just imploded in the span of 15 minutes. Right after we buried Mom. I'm Callie, and until today, I thought I knew exactly who I was. Daughter of Sylvia Mackenzie, owner of Sweet Dreams Bakery, and someone who had just lost the most important person in her life to cancer. Now, according to my stepmother Linda, I was nobody. Your adoption papers were fake, she'd said, her voice as cold as the November wind whipping around us. You have no legal claim to anything. Here's your suitcase. I've packed what belongs to you. She'd dropped a small-wheeled suitcase at my feet, right there in the cemetery parking lot. That's impossible, I'd stammered, rain soaking through my black dress. Mom adopted me when I was 3. I have memories, photos, documents. Fabricated. Linda's perfectly made-up face hadn't shown an ounce of emotion. Your mother was desperate for a child. She cut corners, made arrangements that weren't exactly legal. She'd pulled out a folder, showing me papers I'd never seen before. These are the real documents. As her widow, everything belongs to me now. I couldn't process what was happening. But the bakery? Mom wanted me to have it. She told me, the bakery, the house, her savings, they're all mine now. Linda had smiled then, a small, cruel twist of her lips. You should be grateful I'm letting you take your clothes. Now, standing alone in the rain, I clutched Mom's last letter in my hand. She'd given it to Jake, my bakery assistant, 2 days before she died, making him promise to deliver it after the funeral. He'd slipped it to me right after Linda's bombshell. My phone buzzed. Jake's name lit up the screen. Callie, where are you? You shouldn't be alone right now. I'm still at the cemetery. My voice cracked. Jake, she's trying to take everything. The bakery, my home. Don't move. I'm coming to get you. 10 minutes later, Jake's beaten-up Corolla pulled up. He jumped out, umbrella in hand, and rushed to my side. Jesus, you're soaked. Get in the car. Once inside, I finally opened Mom's letter with shaking fingers. Jake turned up the heat and waited silently as I read. Dear Callie, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and Linda has probably already shown her true colors. What she told you about your adoption isn't the whole truth. She's been planning this for years, ever since she married your father and discovered she couldn't have children of her own. The adoption was legal, sweetheart. Every document was real. But Linda, she's been systematically destroying and replacing papers since your father died. I discovered what she was doing too late, when the cancer was already spreading. But I left you something she doesn't know about. Remember the old recipe box? The one with the false bottom? Everything you need is there, and there's something else. Something about Linda that could destroy everything she's built. I'm so sorry I won't be there to help you fight this, but you're stronger than you know. All my love, Mom. Jake whistled low. The recipe box, it's still at the bakery, right? I nodded, my mind racing. Linda doesn't know about it. Mom never told anyone except me. We need to get there before she does. Jake started the car. The bakery keys are still in your pocket? I patted my dress, panic rising. They're in my purse, which is in the suitcase she gave me. We drove to the cemetery parking lot where Linda had left the suitcase. As I reached for it, Jake grabbed my arm. Wait, he said, voice tense. Look. Linda's sleek black Mercedes was pulling into the lot. She stepped out, phone to her ear. Yes, I'm handling it now. The bakery keys, the documents, everything. No, she won't be a problem, Chaz. I've made sure of that. I ducked down in Jake's car, heart pounding. Linda walked to her trunk and pulled out several boxes labeled Sweet Dreams Bakery. She's already started, I whispered. She's taking everything. Jake's jaw tightened. Not everything, not yet. He started the engine. We're going to get your recipe box, and then we're going to find out exactly what your mom knew about Linda. As we drove away, I clutched Mom's letter to my chest. Linda thought she'd stripped away my identity, my inheritance, my whole life. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She didn't know about Mom's last gift to me, and I was going to use it to take back everything that was rightfully mine. Jake, I said, my voice steady for the first time since the funeral. I need you to help me destroy her. He glanced at me, then back at the road. I'm in, but Callie, there's something you should know about Linda, something that might help us. I turned to him, rain still dripping from my hair. What? She ruined my family too, and I've been waiting years for a chance to make her pay. Jake parked behind Sweet Dreams Bakery, killing the headlights. The rain had finally stopped, but darkness was settling in fast. Through the back window, I could see Linda's Mercedes wasn't in the lot. Yet. What did you mean about Linda ruining your family? I asked, but Jake was already out of the car, testing the back door. Later, we need to move fast. He pulled out a ring of keys. I still have my set from closing last night. Inside, the familiar scent of vanilla and cinnamon wrapped around me like a hug. The kitchen where Mom had taught me everything she knew, where I'd grown from a clumsy kid to head baker, was still warm from the day's work. The recipe box is in Mom's office, I said, heading for the small room behind the kitchen. Jake, watch the front. I found the old wooden box right where it had always been, tucked behind Mom's ancient desktop computer. My hands trembled as I pressed the hidden catch on the bottom, just like Mom had shown me years ago. The false bottom popped open. Callie, Jake's urgent whisper carried from the front. Car pulling up. I grabbed everything from the hidden compartment, a USB drive, a thick envelope, and what looked like a journal, and shoved it all in my jacket pocket. The recipe box went back exactly as I'd found it. Footsteps clicked on the sidewalk outside. Back door, Jake mouthed, gesturing urgently. We slipped out just as the front door chimed. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Linda and a man in an expensive suit entering the bakery. That's Chaz, Jake whispered as we crouched behind his car. The lawyer she was talking to earlier. My phone buzzed. Samantha, my best friend since kindergarten. I'd texted her earlier about Linda's bombshell. My place, I whispered to Jake. Sam's a paralegal. She can help us make sense of whatever Mom left. 20 minutes later, we were in Samantha's apartment. She took one look at my still damp funeral dress and disappeared into her bedroom, returning with sweats and a hoodie. "Change," she ordered. "Then we'll talk." When I emerged, Jake and Sam had coffee waiting. I pulled out everything from the hidden compartment. "Start with the USB," Sam suggested, already booting up her laptop. The drive contained dozens of photos and documents. Sam clicked through them rapidly, her professional demeanor cracking as she realized what she was seeing. "These are email exchanges between Linda and Chaz," she said, "dating back 5 years, before your mom got sick. They were planning this, Callie. Look." The emails detailed everything. How Linda had discovered she couldn't have children. How she'd manipulated my father into changing his will, making her the primary beneficiary. How she'd systematically altered my adoption records after he died. "Wait," Jake said suddenly, pointing at the screen. "Go back one." Sam clicked backward. There was Linda's email address, and next to it, a name that made Jake go pale. "That's my brother's email," he said quietly. "Calvin." "Your brother works with Linda?" I asked. Jake ran a hand through his hair. "Worked. Past tense. He was her personal assistant until 3 years ago, when she accused him of embezzlement. He lost everything, his reputation, his savings. He had to move across the country to start over. But he didn't do it," Sam said, reading further. "According to these emails, Linda set him up. She needed someone to take the fall for money she was moving around. That's why you took the job at the bakery," I realized. "You were trying to get close to Linda." Jake nodded. "I needed proof she framed Calvin, but I never found anything concrete." "Well, now we have it." Sam was still scrolling. "And that's not all. Callie, you need to see this." She opened the journal, Mom's diary. The last entry was dated just days before she died. "Linda came today, thinking I was too weak to understand what she was saying. She admitted everything. How she's been planning to take the bakery since she married Richard. How she destroyed the original adoption papers. She thinks she's won. But she doesn't know I've been recording our conversations. The tapes are with everything else. Use them wisely, my dear girl. And remember, the biggest secret isn't about the bakery at all. It's about who Linda really is and what she did 29 years ago." The entry ended there. "The tapes must be in this envelope," I said, reaching for it. Before I could open it, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know you were at the bakery tonight. Meet me tomorrow at noon at Carter's Cafe. Come alone, or I start the paperwork to seize the bakery immediately. Linda." "Don't go," Jake said immediately. "It's a trap." "No," Sam countered, her eyes gleaming. "Go, but not alone. We'll be there too, recording everything. And Callie?" She held up the envelope. "Let's listen to these tapes first. Tomorrow you're going in armed with everything we know." I looked at the text again, anger and determination coursing through me. "Linda thinks she's calling the shots, but Mom made sure I'd be ready for this fight." "And you're not fighting alone," Jake added quietly. For the first time since the funeral, I felt a spark of hope. Linda had no idea what was coming. Carter's Cafe was packed for the lunch rush when I walked in at exactly noon. Linda sat at a corner table, perfectly poised in her designer suit, a untouched cappuccino in front of her. "Right on time," she said as I sat down. "I assume you've had time to process our conversation from yesterday." Sam and Jake were at separate tables, looking like any other customers. Sam's phone was recording everything, while Jake nursed a coffee near the emergency exit. "Process?" I kept my voice steady. "You mean how you waited until my mother was buried to tell me my whole life is a lie?" Linda's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Dramatic as always, Callie. I'm offering you a deal." A deal? The coffee cup rattled slightly as I set it down. After you tried to steal my identity? Lower your voice, she hissed, glancing around. Listen carefully. I'll give you $50,000, cash, to walk away quietly. Start fresh somewhere else. That's more than generous. I leaned forward. And what about the tapes? Linda's perfectly manicured hand froze halfway to her cup. What tapes? The ones where you admitted to manipulating Dad's will. The ones where you told Mom exactly how you planned to take everything from me. The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. You're bluffing. Want to bet? I pulled out my phone and played a short clip. Linda's voice crystal clear. Once Sylvia's gone, I'll make sure that little charity case never sees a penny of what's rightfully mine. Linda's eyes darted to the exits. Where did you get that? Mom was smarter than you gave her credit for. I stopped the recording. She knew what you were planning. She left evidence. Evidence of what, exactly? A new voice cut in. Chaz, Linda's lawyer, slid into the seat next to her. Because making illegal recordings could be problematic for you, Callie. I hadn't expected him. From the corner of my eye, I saw Jake tense. Not as problematic as fraud, I countered, or destroying legal documents, or embezzlement. Right, Linda. Should we ask Calvin about that? Linda's cup clattered against the saucer. How do you know about Calvin? I finished. I know everything, including what happened 29 years ago. It was a bluff. We hadn't decoded that part of Mom's message yet. But Linda's reaction told me it hit home. She gripped the table edge, knuckles white. You're lying, she whispered. Try me. I stood up. Here's my deal. Return everything you stole, the bakery, the house, my inheritance, or I take this all public, every last detail. Chaz grabbed my arm. Sit down. You're making a mistake. Take your hand off her. Jake was suddenly there, his voice low and dangerous. Now. Well, Linda recovered enough to smirk. If it isn't Calvin's little brother, still trying to clear his name? The evidence already did that, Jake said. Your emails to Chaz spelled it out pretty clearly. Linda's smirk faltered. Chaz released my arm. This isn't over, Linda stood, gathering her things. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Actually, I do. I held up my phone. By the way, there's something else you should know. The annual charity gala next week, I'll be there. Rylan Howard personally invited me to speak about Mom's contributions to the community. Linda froze. Rylan Howard was her biggest social connection, the key to her carefully cultivated high society image. You wouldn't dare, she breathed. Try me. You have until then to make this right. As Linda and Chaz hurried out, Sam slid into their vacant seats. Got it all on video. But Callie, that thing about speaking at the gala was a lie, I finished. But it gave me an idea. Rylan Howard hosts that gala every year. Mom always donated pastries. They loved her. And Linda desperately wants to be part of that crowd, Jake added. It's her whole identity. Exactly. I pulled out Mom's journal. We have 6 days to figure out what happened 29 years ago. Whatever it is, Linda's terrified of it coming out. I'll call Rylan's office, Sam said, already dialing. I handle some of her charity's legal work. I can get you that speaking slot. Jake touched my shoulder. Callie, when Linda mentioned Calvin, I should tell you something. There's more to this than just the embezzlement setup. Before he could continue, my phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. I know what Linda did 29 years ago. Meet me at the old library tonight at 8. Come alone. This changes everything. I showed Jake and Sam the message. It's probably Linda trying to trap you, Sam warned. Or it could be someone who actually knows, Jake said. But you're not going alone. I stared at the message, thinking of Mom's last words in her journal. Whatever Linda's secret was, It was big enough to make her lose control at just the mention of it. I'm going, I decided. But first, we need to stop by the bakery. There's something in Mom's office I need to check. What? Sam asked. The dates in her old calendars. 29 years ago, Mom was working at the children's hospital. Whatever happened, it happened there. Jake's expression changed. The children's hospital? Callie. That's where Calvin used to work, too. The old library loomed dark and imposing as I approached, its Gothic architecture casting long shadows in the streetlight. Jake and Sam were parked around the corner, watching through their phone's video chat. Still no sign of anyone. Jake's voice crackled through my earpiece. Be careful. I climbed the stone steps, remembering what we'd discovered at the bakery earlier. Mom's old calendar had shown multiple appointments at the children's hospital in the months before my adoption. The same hospital where Calvin had worked in the records department before Linda destroyed his career. A figure emerged from behind a pillar. Not Linda. A man in his late 30s wearing a worn leather jacket. Calvin? I recognized him from the photo Jake had shown me. He nodded, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Thanks for coming. I've been following your situation with Linda. How? I never stopped watching her, even after she framed me. I was at the funeral, stayed in the back, saw how she treated you. Why contact me now? Calvin pulled out a thick manila envelope. Because I finally found proof of what she did. Not just to me, but 29 years ago. It involves you, Callie, and your real mother. My heart stopped. What? Suddenly, headlights swept across the library steps. A black SUV screeched to a halt. Inside, now! Calvin grabbed my arm, pulling me through the library's side entrance. He had a key, must have gotten it earlier. Jake, Sam, black SUV just showed up. I whispered into my earpiece. We see it, Sam replied. 2 men getting out. Looks like Chaz is one of them. Calvin led me through the darkened library, past towering shelves to a back office. Linda's been paying people to destroy records for years, he said, locking the door behind us. But I managed to save copies before she got to them. He spread documents across a desk, clicking on a small lamp. Look at this, hospital records from 29 years ago. Linda was a nurse there. A nurse? That was news to me. In the maternity ward, there was an incident, a baby swap. 2 infants switched at birth. One died a few days later. Calvin's voice was grim. The hospital covered it up, but Linda was responsible. She'd been drinking on shift. My hands shook as I read the documents. Are you saying the baby that died wasn't supposed to be with those parents? Linda switched the infant's ID bracelets. She was about to be caught when your mother, your birth mother, went into early labor. Linda saw an opportunity. Heavy footsteps echoed through the library. They're inside, Jake warned through the earpiece. We're coming in. Linda helped deliver you, Calvin continued quickly. When your birth mother developed complications and died shortly after, Linda falsified the death certificate. She reported you as the deceased infant, then arranged for Sylvia to adopt you through unofficial channels. But why? My voice cracked. Because the baby swap investigation would have revealed her drinking problem. She'd have lost her nursing license, gone to jail. This way, she buried her mistake forever. Or so she thought. The office door rattled violently. Open up, Chaz's voice boomed. Calvin, we know you're in there. Take these, Calvin shoved the envelope at me. There's a back door through that storage room. Go. What about you? I'll hold them off. Jake knows where to find me. Go. I slipped into the storage room just as the office door burst open. Through the crack, I saw Chaz and another man confronting Calvin. Those records were sealed, Chaz snarled. Like the records you helped Linda falsify? Calvin shot back. I heard scuffling, then Jake's voice. Police are on their way. Back off. I clutched the envelope and ran, bursting out the back door into the night air. Sam was waiting in her car. Drive! I jumped in. As we sped away, I saw Jake helping Calvin out of the building in my side mirror. They made it to Jake's car just as police sirens wailed in the distance. "What did you find out?" Sam asked. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers, pulling out birth certificates, death records, and hospital documents. Linda's been running from her past for 29 years. She killed a baby through negligence, then used my birth to cover it up. My voice broke. She stole me from my dying mother and arranged the adoption to hide her crimes. Sam's grip tightened on the steering wheel. That's why she was so desperate to discredit your adoption. If anyone looked too closely at the original records, they'd uncover everything. I stared at the proof in my hands. Mom must have figured it out before she died. That's why she left me the evidence. My phone buzzed. Jake, Calvin's safe, meeting at Sam's place in 20. You need to see what else he has. Another text followed immediately, this one from Linda. Whatever Calvin told you is lies. Last chance, Callie. Walk away, or I'll make sure you lose everything, including your precious bakery. I'm filing the paperwork tomorrow. I thought of Mom, fighting cancer, but still fighting for me. Of my birth mother, who never got to know me. Of Calvin carrying this truth for years. Sam, I said, my voice steel hard, call Rylan. Tell her I need that speaking slot at the gala. It's time everyone knew exactly who Linda really is. The gala's tomorrow night, Sam said, pacing her living room. Linda's already trying to block your speaking slot. She told Rylan you're mentally unstable. I was rehearsing my speech when someone knocked. Jake opened the door to reveal Calvin, looking more composed than he had at the library. Linda's getting desperate, he said, dropping a new stack of papers on the coffee table. She just tried to access my old hospital records again. Too late, Jake smiled grimly. We already moved everything to a secure server. Calvin spread out the new documents. There's more. Remember how I said Linda had been drinking when she switched those babies? She was drinking with someone. He pointed to an old staff photo. My heart stopped. Is that Chaz? Calvin confirmed. He was a junior lawyer for the hospital back then. He helped cover up the baby swap, and Linda's been blackmailing him ever since. That's why he's helping her now, Sam realized. She's still holding it over him. My phone buzzed. An email from Rylan Howard herself. Speaking slot confirmed for tomorrow night. Linda tried to intervene, but I've known Sylvia for years. If you have something to say, you'll be heard. We need to be careful, Calvin warned. Linda's not just worried about her reputation anymore. She's facing potential criminal charges. Which is why this has to be perfect, Sam said, pulling up a presentation on her laptop. I've organized all the evidence. Hospital records, death certificates, the recordings from Sylvia, Calvin's testimony. Wait, Jake interrupted, staring at one of the documents. That date? Calvin, isn't that when you first confronted Linda about the records? Calvin nodded. 3 days later, she accused me of embezzlement. And the day after that, Jake continued, she married Callie's father. I grabbed the timeline Sam had created. She married Dad right after Calvin threatened to expose her. She needed his connections, his reputation, and his daughter, Calvin finished. Having you close meant she could control the narrative if anything came out about your adoption. A text lit up my phone. The bakery paperwork is filed. You have 24 hours to vacate. Linda. She's trying to force our hand, Sam said. No, I stood up, anger and determination flowing through me. She's scared. The gala isn't just her social circle, it's her shield. All those influential people thinking she's this grieving widow, this pillar of the community. Once they know the truth, Jake started, she'll lose everything, Calvin finished, just like she made me lose everything. I picked up my speech notes. Sam, can you get the police records from the original baby swap investigation? Already on it. But Callie? She hesitated. Are you sure you want to do this publicly? It's going to be intense. Mom wanted the truth to come out, I said firmly. Not just for me, but for that other family who lost their baby. They never knew what really happened. Jake's phone chimed. Linda's just posted on social media about speaking at the gala, too. She's announcing a new charitable foundation in Sylvia's name. Using Mom's name to rehabilitate her image, I felt sick. After everything she did, use it, Calvin said suddenly. Let her think she's winning when she's up there playing the grieving widow. That's when we strike, Sam finished, eyes gleaming. Ryland scheduled you to speak right after Linda. I looked around at my unlikely team, Sam with her legal expertise, Jake with his unwavering support, Calvin with his years of gathered evidence. Mom had made sure I wouldn't fight this battle alone. There's one more thing. Calvin pulled out a faded envelope. I found your birth mother's last letter. She wrote it knowing she wouldn't survive the complications. It was supposed to go to you, but Linda intercepted it. My hands trembled as I took it. I can't read this yet. After the gala, after Linda faces what she's done. Jake squeezed my shoulder. Whatever happens tomorrow night, we're all with you. Linda thinks she's untouchable, Sam added, but she's never faced someone with the truth on their side. My phone buzzed one final time. Another message from Linda. I know what you're planning. Remember, you're nobody. Just an abandoned child playing dress-up in a life that was never yours. I thought of Mom's strength during her final days, of my birth mother's last letter, of all the lives Linda had destroyed to keep her secrets. Tomorrow night, I said, my voice steady, Linda learns what it means to lose everything she stole. And this time, Calvin added quietly, she won't be able to drink away her guilt. We worked through the night, perfecting every detail. By dawn, we were ready. The gala wasn't just about exposing Linda anymore. It was about justice for two mothers, a lost baby, and every life Linda had ruined to protect her secrets. The Grand Plaza Hotel's ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and society's elite. I adjusted my midnight blue dress, Mom's favorite, and watched Linda work the room, playing the grieving widow to perfection. Everything's ready, Sam whispered, elegant in her black cocktail dress. Calvin's in position by the emergency exit, and Jake's got the tech under control. I nodded, clutching my small purse containing the evidence we'd gathered. Across the room, Ryland Howard took the stage, her silver hair gleaming under the spotlights. Welcome to our annual charity gala, she began. Tonight, we honor those who've made our community stronger. First, please welcome Linda McKenzie, who's established a foundation in memory of her beloved Sylvia. The applause was polite as Linda ascended the stairs to the podium. She wore white, innocent as a dove. Sylvia was more than my husband's first wife, Linda's voice cracked perfectly. She was my dearest friend. That's why I'm announcing the Sylvia McKenzie Memorial Foundation for Children in Need. Jake appeared at my elbow. Live stream's up. Local news is covering it. Linda continued, tears glistening. Sylvia's greatest joy was helping children. Though she had none of her own, she opened her heart to everyone. My hands clenched. Sam squeezed my arm. That's why I'm pledging $5 million, Linda announced, to help children find loving homes through legal adoption. The audience gasped appreciatively. I almost laughed at the irony. And now, Ryland returned to the podium. We have a surprise speaker. Callie McKenzie, Sylvia's daughter, would like to say a few words. Linda's perfect mask slipped for just a second. She hadn't expected me to actually show up. I walked to the stage, passing close enough to see Linda's knuckles whiten around her champagne glass. As I reached the podium, Jake dimmed the lights and activated the presentation screen behind me. Thank you, Rylan. Mom would have loved seeing everyone here tonight. I took a deep breath. She taught me that truth matters more than appearances. That's why I need to share something important. The first image appeared, the hospital staff photo showing Linda and Chaz 29 years ago. Before she was Linda McKenzie, socialite and philanthropist, she was Linda Wilson, nurse at Metropolitan Children's Hospital. Linda stood abruptly, but Rylan gestured for her to sit. In 1994, 2 babies were switched in that hospital. One died. The truth was covered up. I looked directly at Linda, by a nurse who'd been drinking on duty and a junior lawyer who helped hide the evidence. The next slides showed the hospital records, death certificates, and damning paperwork. The audience murmured, "That nurse then stole another baby, me, from a dying mother, arranged an illegal adoption, and spent decades destroying evidence of her crimes. This is slander." Linda shot to her feet. "She's mentally unstable." "Actually," Calvin's voice rang out as he emerged from the crowd, "everything she's saying is documented. I saved the records before you could destroy them all." "Calvin," Chaz stood up, face pale, "you disappeared. After Linda framed me for embezzlement?" Calvin smiled grimly. "I was gathering evidence, like the recordings of Linda admitting everything to Sylvia on her deathbed." Jake hit play. Linda's voice filled the ballroom. "No one can prove anything. I switched those babies, covered up that death, and no one will ever know. Sylvia, you're dying anyway. Why protect that charity case you call a daughter?" The audience gasped. Linda lunged for the podium, but Sam stepped forward. "I wouldn't," she said quietly. "The police are already on their way. We sent them everything an hour ago." Linda spun toward the exit, but security blocked her path. She turned back to me, mascara running. "You don't understand," she hissed. "That baby died because of me. I couldn't face it, couldn't let anyone know. When your birth mother died in childbirth, it was my chance to make it right. By stealing me?" My voice shook. "By destroying every life that threatened your secret? I gave you a better life," Linda screamed. "A proper family." "No," I held up my birth mother's last letter. "You stole my truth, just like you stole that other family's chance to mourn their real baby." Police officers entered the ballroom. Chaz tried to slip away but was quickly detained. "Linda McKenzie," an officer approached. "You're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud, evidence tampering, and criminal negligence resulting in death." As they led Linda away, she locked eyes with me one last time. "I did love you," she whispered, "in my way." "Save it for the judge," Sam said coldly. Rylan Howard took the podium again, visibly shaken. "In light of these revelations, all foundation funds will be frozen pending investigation." I watched Linda disappear through the doors, her white dress stark against the officers' dark uniforms. Jake appeared beside me. "You did it," he said softly. "Both your moms would be proud." I touched the letter in my pocket, my birth mother's last words, still unread. "Tomorrow," I said. "Tonight I need to call that other family. They deserve to know the truth about their baby." "We'll do it together," Jake promised, taking my hand. For the first time since Mom's funeral, I felt truly free. Linda's web of lies had finally unraveled, and the truth, though painful, would finally bring healing. The morning after the gala, I sat in Sweet Dreams Bakery, my bakery again, surrounded by newspaper headlines about Linda's arrest. Jake brought over 2 steaming cups of coffee as Sam spread out the legal documents across our favorite table. "Linda's facing serious jail time," Sam said, highlighting key sections. Chaz, too. They're both cooperating with investigators, trying to get lighter sentences. A gentle knock at the door made us look up. An elderly couple stood outside, Thomas and Marie, the parents of the baby who died 29 years ago. I'd called them last night after the gala. Jake let them in. Marie's eyes were red-rimmed, her husband's hand steady on her shoulder. "Thank you for agreeing to meet us," Thomas said quietly. "Would you like some coffee? Fresh pastries?" I offered, trying to steady my voice. Marie shook her head, pulling out a worn photo album. "We brought something for you." She opened to a page showing a tiny baby in a hospital bassinet. "This is our daughter, our real daughter, the one we thought was ours. We'd like you to have this picture." My hands trembled as I took it. "I'm so sorry you never knew the truth." "We named her Hope," Marie whispered. "All these years we thought she was ours. Finding out now that she belonged to another family, that our actual baby." She couldn't continue. "The police found the other family," Sam said gently. "They're flying in tomorrow. Would you like to meet them?" Thomas nodded, tears in his eyes. "We'd like that, to know about our real daughter's final days." The bell chimed again. Calvin entered carrying more files. "The hospital board is launching a full investigation," he reported. "They're implementing new security measures for the maternity ward. Linda's actions are changing policies nationwide." "Small comfort," Thomas muttered, but Marie touched his arm. "No," she said. "It means other families won't suffer like we did. That matters." My phone buzzed, a message from the detention center. Linda was requesting to see me. "You don't have to go," Jake said, reading over my shoulder. "I know." I looked at Marie and Thomas, at their grace in the face of devastating truth. "But I need to." An hour later, I sat across from Linda in the visiting room. Her designer clothes were replaced by a dull jumpsuit, her perfect makeup gone. "You look like her," Linda said abruptly. "Who?" "Your birth mother. Sarah was her name. She was so young, so alone. I thought—" Linda's hands twisted together. "I thought giving you to Sylvia would make up for what I'd done to Hope." "You didn't have that right," I said quietly. "You played God with people's lives." "I know." For the first time, Linda's voice held real remorse. "After that first mistake, after Hope died, I started drinking more. When Sarah died in childbirth, I saw a chance to fix things, give you a better life than she could have. But you never stopped lying. You tried to take everything from me, because I couldn't face the truth." Linda's shoulders slumped. "When your father died, when Sylvia got sick, I convinced myself I deserved it all. The money, the bakery, the reputation. I'd given you a good life, hadn't I?" "Mom gave me a good life," I corrected her. "You just tried to steal it." Linda nodded slowly. "I know that now. The police found Sarah's family, your biological grandparents. They want to meet you." My heart skipped. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know them, and because—" She pulled out an envelope. "This was in my personal files. It's your original birth certificate. Sarah named you Grace." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "Thank you for this, but it doesn't change what you did." "I know." Linda's eyes filled with tears. "I'll be pleading guilty to all charges. It's time I paid for my choices." Back at the bakery, I found Jake waiting. Without a word, he pulled me into a hug. "You okay?" he asked softly. "I will be." I showed him the envelope. "My birth mother named me Grace." "Beautiful name," he said. "But you know what? You're still Callie to me, the strongest, most graceful person I know." Sam burst in, waving her phone. "The court-approved emergency reinstatement of your ownership. The bakery's officially yours again." I looked around at the warm, familiar space where Mom had taught me everything about baking and life, at the corner table where she'd told me stories about my adoption, stories she'd believed were true. At the kitchen where she'd shown me how to turn flour and sugar into something magical. Grace was my beginning, I said slowly, but Callie is who I became, thanks to Mom, my real mom, Sylvia. Jake squeezed my hand. Want to read your birth mother's letter now? I touched the worn envelope in my pocket, Sarah's last words to her baby Grace. Yes, I decided. It's time to know all of my truth. As the afternoon sun streamed through the bakery windows, I opened the letter, ready to embrace every part of who I was. Grace and Callie, Sarah and Sylvia's daughter, a child of both loss and love. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh bread through the open bakery doors as I arranged a special display of cinnamon rolls, Sarah's recipe, as it turned out. Her letter had revealed she'd been a baker too, working at a small cafe until complications in her pregnancy forced her to stop. The bell chimed. My biological grandparents, Robert and Diana, entered carrying a familiar wooden box. We found more of Sarah's recipes, Diana said, setting the box on the counter. She would have loved seeing you continue her passion. Perfect timing, I smiled, pulling out a tray of pastries. I just finished testing her orange cardamom rolls. The door chimed again. Thomas and Marie entered with the family whose baby they'd raised, Hope's biological parents. Over the past weeks, the two families had formed an unexpected bond, sharing memories and photos, healing together. Smells like heaven in here, Thomas said, hugging me. They'd become regular fixtures at the bakery, finding comfort in our shared connection to the truth. Jake emerged from the kitchen, flour dusting his dark hair. Calvin just called. Linda's sentencing is today. I nodded, trying to stay focused on arranging pastries. Sam had texted earlier. Linda was facing 15 years, Chaz 12. The evidence was overwhelming, their guilty pleas a formality. You don't have to go, Robert said gently. I know. I straightened my apron, but I need to see this through. Jake touched my shoulder. I'll drive you. At the courthouse, Sam met us outside, legal papers in hand. Linda asked to address you before sentencing. The courtroom was packed. The case had attracted national attention, leading to investigations at other hospitals, changes in adoption laws. Linda stood when I entered, her face drawn. Callie, Grace, I've had a lot of time to think in jail, about choices, consequences, about how one lie led to another until I couldn't find the truth anymore. I waited, remembering Sarah's words in her letter. My dearest Grace, whatever life brings you, choose truth. It's harder, but it keeps your heart whole. I'm sorry, Linda continued, not just for what I did back then, but for trying to steal your life now. Sylvia would be so proud of who you've become. And Sarah? Her voice cracked. Sarah would be too. The judge sentenced her to 12 years with possibility of parole after 8. As they led Linda away, she turned back one last time. The bakery, she said. The recipe box had a false bottom, but did you check the sides? That evening, Jake helped me examine the old recipe box. Hidden in a hollow panel, we found a small key and an address. It's for a storage unit, Jake said, Googling the location. Inside the dusty unit, we discovered boxes of Mom's old photos, letters, and journals, including detailed records of my adoption. She'd hidden everything here, protecting the truth she'd suspected but couldn't prove. Look at this. Jake held up a photo of Mom at the hospital, holding newborn me. Linda stood in the background watching. She knew, even then. But she chose to love me anyway, I said softly. Even knowing something wasn't right, she chose to be my mom. Back at the bakery, I gathered everyone, Jake, Sam, Calvin, my grandparents, Thomas and Marie, Hope's biological parents. The evening sun painted the walls golden as I brought out a special cake, Sarah's recipe, I explained, with Mom's frosting, because I am both of their daughters, and all of you are my family, not by blood or papers, but by truth and love. Diana wiped her eyes. Sarah would have loved this place. She always dreamed of owning a bakery. That's why I'm renaming it, I revealed, unveiling the new sign. Sweet Dreams will become Sarah's Grace. Perfect, Jake squeezed my hand. Both your mothers, both your names. And look, Sam pointed out the window. A young couple peered in, admiring the displays. Your first customers under the new name. As I welcomed them in, I caught my reflection in the window. My smile, Sarah's eyes, Mom's determination. Linda had tried to bury the truth, but it had bloomed instead, creating something beautiful from the ashes of lies. The couple ordered Sarah's orange cardamom rolls and Mom's signature chocolate cake. As I boxed their order, Jake hung the final touch beside the register, a double frame. On one side, Sarah held newborn me. On the other, Mom taught toddler me to roll dough. Two mothers, Jake said softly. Two names, one amazing woman. I looked around at my unlikely family, bound by truth, strengthened by love. Linda's lies had meant to destroy us all, but instead, they'd brought us together, creating something stronger than secrets. Welcome to Sarah's Grace, I told the customers, my voice sure and strong. Everything here is baked with love and truth. Outside, the new sign caught the last rays of sunlight, glowing like a promise kept, a legacy honored, a truth finally set free.
The last thing I expected at my father's funeral was to smile. Yet there I stood, clutching a letter that would change everything, fighting back an inappropriate grin while my brother Sergio sobbed dramatically into our mother's shoulder. I'm Alice, and for 32 years, I've been the family disappointment, the shadow child, the one who could never quite measure up to precious Sergio's achievements. But today was different. Ms. Wilkinson? A tall man in a crisp suit approached me as the other mourners began filtering out of the cemetery. I'm Carson King, your father's attorney. We need to discuss the reading of the will. I nodded, already knowing what was coming. Dad might have ignored me in life, but in death he'd finally seen me. The next day we gathered in Carson's office. The leather chairs squeaked as Sergio shifted impatiently, while Mom sat rigid, her face a mask of careful composure. I kept my eyes fixed on the mahogany desk, remembering the last conversation I'd had with Dad. Alice, Carson began, clearing his throat. Your father made some significant changes to his will in his final months. Sergio leaned forward. Changes? What changes? I watched my brother's face as Carson continued reading. The colour drained from his cheeks when the attorney announced that the entire estate, the house, the business, everything had been left to me. This is impossible, Sergio exploded, jumping to his feet. Dad would never— Sit down, Mom snapped, her voice trembling. She turned to Carson. There must be some mistake. Wilson always intended for Sergio to inherit the business. He's been grooming him for years. The documentation is quite clear, Carson replied, sliding his glasses up his nose. Mr. Wilkinson was of sound mind when he made these changes. Everything has been left to Alice, including full control of Wilkinson Industries. My phone buzzed. A text from Luna. How's it going? Did they flip? I typed back quickly. Better than we planned. Stand by. I'll contest this, Sergio declared, pacing the office. Dad wasn't thinking clearly. Alice probably manipulated him somehow. She's always been jealous of me. I finally spoke up, my voice steady. Jealous? Of what exactly? Of being Dad's puppet? Of having every decision made for you? You ungrateful little, Mom started, but I cut her off. I'm not the same person you could dismiss anymore. I stood, smoothing my black dress. Dad saw something in me at the end. Something you all missed. What did you do to him? Sergio demanded, getting in my face. How did you convince him to change the will? I met his gaze calmly. I showed him my potential, something you never had to do because it was always handed to you. Carson cleared his throat. There's more. Mr. Wilkinson left a letter explaining his decision. My heart skipped. This I hadn't known about. Carson began reading. To my family. I've watched for years as we destroyed Alice's spirit, dismissed her achievements, and pushed her into the background. In my final months, I saw what she's built on her own, without our help or acknowledgement. She has the vision and strength to take Wilkinson Industries where it needs to go. Sergio, you were given everything and did nothing with it. Alice made something from nothing. She deserves this. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them away. Too little, too late, Dad. This is ridiculous, Mom declared, standing. We'll fight this. Come, Sergio. They stormed out, leaving me alone with Carson. He gathered the papers, looking at me thoughtfully. They don't know, do they? He asked quietly. About your non-profit. I shook my head. They never bothered to ask what I was doing with my life. They're about to find out. My phone buzzed again. Luna. Meeting still on for tomorrow. The merger paperwork is ready. Yes, I replied. Time to show them exactly what the family disappointment can do. Walking out of the office, I felt lighter than I had in years. Dad's final gift wasn't just the inheritance. It was the look on Sergio's face when he realized he wasn't untouchable anymore. The way Mom's carefully constructed world crumbled around her. I stepped into the sunshine, remembering all the family dinners where I was invisible, the achievements that went unacknowledged, the constant comparison to Sergio. They never saw me coming. They never saw me at all. But they would now. My phone rang. Luna again. Well, she asked when I answered. Did the bomb drop? I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. Oh yes. And Luna? They have no idea what's coming next. That's my girl, she said. Ready to change the world? I got into my car, starting the engine. Ready to show them exactly who Alice Wilkinson is. The game was on, and for once I held all the cards. Let them contest the will. Let them fight. They were about to learn that the daughter they underestimated had become the woman they should have feared. You've been planning this for 3 years? Luna set down her coffee cup, eyes wide. We were sitting in our usual corner of the small cafe where everything had started. I knew you were working on something big, but this... 4 years, actually. I pulled out my laptop, showing her the spreadsheets and documents I'd carefully compiled. Remember that night you found me crying here? How could I forget? You looked like you'd hit rock bottom. The memory was still crystal clear. I'd just left another disastrous family dinner where Sergio had announced his latest promotion, and Mom had spent the entire evening gushing about how he was following in Dad's footsteps. What about your new project? I'd asked during dessert. The Women's Shelter Initiative. Oh, honey, Mom had dismissed with a wave. Leave the real business to your brother. I'd fled to this cafe, where Luna, a complete stranger then, had offered me a tissue and changed my life with 6 simple words. Why don't you prove them wrong? Look at this, I said now, turning the laptop toward her. The non-profit has already helped over 300 women start their own businesses. We're profitable, sustainable, and making real change. Luna scrolled through the figures, whistling low. And your family never knew? They never asked. I took a sip of my Americano. Dad found out, though, right at the end. That's when everything changed. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. Sergio just showed up at the office, demanding to see the books. Right on schedule, I muttered, typing back. Follow the protocol we discussed. Luna raised an eyebrow. Your brother's making his move. He's predictable. Always has been. I closed my laptop. He thinks he'll find evidence that I manipulated Dad, but instead, he'll find a perfectly legitimate business that's more successful than anything he's ever done. Luna finished, grinning. My phone rang. Mom this time. I put it on speaker. Alice, this has gone far enough, she started without preamble. Your brother is devastated. How could you do this to your own family? I learned from the best, Mom. How many times did you and Dad devastate me? That's different. We were preparing you for the real world. No, I countered. You were breaking me down to keep me in my place. But guess what? I built myself back up. Your father wasn't thinking clearly when he changed that will. We both know. He was thinking clearly for the first time in his life, I cut in. He saw what I built while you were all too busy praising Sergio for existing. The line went quiet for a moment. What exactly did you build? I laughed bitterly. Now you want to know? After 4 years of not caring? Alice, check your email, Mom. I sent you everything 10 minutes ago. Maybe now you'll understand why Dad changed his mind. I hung up, hands shaking slightly. Luna reached across the table and squeezed my arm. You okay? Better than okay. I pulled up another document on my laptop. Watch this. Sergio should be discovering right about now that he can't access any of the company accounts. You already changed the permissions? Carson helped me file the paperwork the moment the will was read. Sergio's executive access has been officially revoked. My phone buzzed again. An angry text from Sergio. What the hell did you do? The board won't even take my calls. That's because I met with them last week, I told Luna, smirking. Showed them our plans for merging Wilkinson Industries with my nonprofit. They were impressed. You brilliant, devious woman. Luna raised her coffee cup in a toast. To Karma. To Karma, I agreed, clinking my cup against hers. Another text from Margaret. Sergio just left. He looked ready to explode. Should I send you the security footage? Save it, I replied. Might need it for the court case. You really think they'll sue? I'm counting on it. I showed Luna another document, because when they do, this all comes out in discovery. Every dismissive comment, every time they undermined me, every opportunity they gave Sergio while telling me I wasn't good enough. And your non-profit's success proves them wrong on every count. Luna nodded. But Alice, are you ready for how ugly this could get? I thought about all the family dinners spent in silence, all the achievements ignored, all the times I was told to be more like my brother. They made it ugly years ago, Luna. I'm just finally fighting back. My phone lit up with another call. Carson this time. Alice, they've filed the lawsuit. Are you ready to proceed with Phase 2? I met Luna's eyes across the table, seeing the same fierce support that had sparked this journey 4 years ago. Yes, I said firmly. Let's show them exactly what the family disappointment can do. The game was moving faster now, pieces falling into place. They thought they knew what they were fighting for, but they had no idea what they were fighting against. It was time to show them the power of the daughter they'd underestimated. The courthouse steps felt like a stage, and my family had always loved putting on a show. Sergio stood with his attorney, playing the part of the wounded son perfectly for the gathering reporters. Mom hovered nearby, dabbing at non-existent tears with a monogrammed handkerchief. Ready? Carson asked, adjusting his tie as we approached. I was born ready, I replied, then paused as I spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Luna? She pushed through the reporters wearing a sharp business suit I'd never seen before. Surprise! Margaret sent me, said you might need moral support. Ms. Wilkinson, a reporter shoved a microphone in my face. How do you respond to allegations that you manipulated your father into changing his will? Before I could answer, Sergio stepped forward. My sister took advantage of our father's declining health. I built a successful business that helps women escape exactly the kind of toxic family dynamics I grew up with. I cut in, my voice clear and steady. Dad saw that success and made his own choice. The reporters' cameras clicked frantically as Sergio's face reddened. You've always been jealous. Jealous? I laughed, the sound echoing off the courthouse columns. Of what? Being handed everything while I had to fight for scraps? That's enough, Mom intervened, grabbing Sergio's arm. We're family. We shouldn't... Family, I turned to face her. Was it family when you told the board members I was emotionally unstable last week? The reporters went silent. Mom's face paled. Oh, yes, I continued, pulling out my phone. I have the email right here. Should I read it out loud? Alice, Carson warned quietly. You're right, I nodded, putting the phone away. Save it for the judge. We filed into the courtroom, the tension thick enough to cut. Luna squeezed my hand before taking a seat in the gallery. I sat beside Carson, watching Sergio whisper frantically with his attorney. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. The preliminary hearing began with Sergio's attorney painting a picture of a manipulative sister taking advantage of a dying father. I kept my face neutral even as my fingers dug into my palms under the table. Then it was Carson's turn. "Your Honor," he began, standing. "I'd like to present evidence of Ms. Wilkinson's business acumen and success prior to her father's death." He projected my nonprofit's financial statements onto the courtroom screen. "In 4 years, my client built an organization that has helped hundreds of women achieve financial independence. An organization that, I might add, is more profitable than any project her brother has managed." Sergio's attorney jumped up. "Objection. Relevance?" "The relevance," Carson continued smoothly, "is that Mr. Wilkinson Sr. made a sound business decision based on demonstrated capability, not manipulation." The judge leaned forward, studying the figures. "These are impressive numbers, Ms. Wilkinson." "Thank you, Your Honor," I replied. "We're particularly proud of our 92% success rate with small business startups." "Success she kept hidden from her family," Sergio burst out. "If she was so accomplished, why didn't she tell us?" "I did tell you," I said quietly, but my voice carried in the hushed courtroom. "Every family dinner for 4 years. You were always too busy talking about yourself to listen." "That's a lie." "Actually," Carson interjected, "we have video evidence from several family gatherings where Ms. Wilkinson attempted to discuss her work, only to be dismissed or interrupted." Mum's face went ashen. She remembered those dinners. She'd done most of the interrupting. "Furthermore," Carson continued, "we have documentation showing that Mr. Wilkinson Sr. spent his final months reviewing his daughter's business model and meeting with her team. His decision to change his will was made with full mental capacity and careful consideration." The judge nodded slowly. "I've seen enough for today. Given the evidence presented, I'm denying the request for an emergency injunction. Ms. Wilkinson will retain control of the estate pending full trial." Sergio slumped in his chair. Mum's hands trembled as she clutched her purse. Outside the courthouse, Luna was waiting with a hug. "You were amazing in there." "It's not over," I reminded her, watching my family huddle with their attorney across the plaza. "No," she agreed, "but you drew first blood." My phone buzzed. Margaret again. "Board meeting tomorrow. They want to fast-track the merger after seeing today's performance." I smiled, typing back, "Perfect. Send me the details." "Alice!" Mom's voice rang out. I turned to see her approaching alone, her perfect makeup slightly smudged. "Please, can we talk?" "Now you want to talk?" I asked, after trying to paint me as mentally unstable to the board. "I was trying to protect our family." "No," I cut her off. "You were trying to protect your idea of family, the perfect son, the quiet daughter who knows her place. Well, guess what? That family doesn't exist anymore." I turned away, linking arms with Luna. Behind us, I heard Mom call out one more time, her voice breaking. "What happened to my little girl?" "She grew up," I called back without turning around, "and she learned how to fight back." The war wasn't over, but the first battle was mine, and I was just getting started. "The merger paperwork is ready," Margaret announced, spreading documents across the conference room table. "Once you sign these, Wilkinson Industries officially becomes part of Women's Rise Foundation." I picked up the pen, then paused. "Any word from Sergio's camp?" "Your brother's been calling board members non-stop," Margaret smirked. "But after yesterday's court performance, no one's taking his calls." Luna burst into the room waving her phone. "You need to see this. Sergio just went on LinkedIn." She showed me the post. "Deeply saddened by my sister's hostile takeover of our family business. This betrayal of our father's legacy will not stand." "Hostile takeover?" I laughed. "I literally inherited it." "The comments are the best part," Luna scrolled down. "Look how many people are calling him out." My phone buzzed. Mom again. Her 5th call today. This time I answered. "What do you want?" "Your brother is drinking again," she said without preamble. "This is destroying him, Alice. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted was a family that valued me, I replied. What I wanted was recognition for my achievements. What I got was years of being told I wasn't good enough. We never... Save it for the trial, Mom. I hung up and turned to Margaret. Let's sign these papers. As I put pen to paper, the office door burst open. Sergio stumbled in, clearly drunk, his tie askew. You can't do this, he slurred. This is my birthright. Sir, you need to leave, Margaret started, reaching for the security button. No! He lurched forward, grabbing for the papers. I won't let you destroy everything Dad built. Security's on their way, Luna announced, phone in hand. I stood, facing my brother. Dad built this company by crushing everyone in his path. I'm transforming it into something that actually helps people. By helping what? Poor women start craft businesses? He sneered. That's your big vision. One of our clients just landed $1 million defense contract, Margaret interjected. Another's tech startup was valued at $12 million last quarter. This isn't about business, I said quietly. This is about you finally facing consequences. Security arrived, taking Sergio's arms. He struggled, shouting, You'll regret this. Mom and I will... Will what? I cut him off. Tell more lies. Try to paint me as unstable. That worked so well in court yesterday. As they dragged him out, his last words echoed, Dad would be ashamed of you. No, I called after him. Dad was finally proud of me. That's what's really killing you. Luna locked the door behind them. Well, that was dramatic. Get it on video? I asked Margaret. She held up her phone, grinning. Every second, including the part where he tried to physically stop a legal business transaction. I returned to the papers, signing the final page. Send copies to the board, our attorneys, and the court. And, Margaret, make sure that video gets to Judge Martinez. Already done. She gathered the documents. Congratulations, boss. You now officially run both companies. My phone chimed with a text from Carson. Sergio's attorney just withdrew from the case, cited irreconcilable differences with the client. They're unraveling, Luna observed, reading over my shoulder. Good. I sat back down, pulling up the company's financial projections. Now for phase 2. Margaret, how soon can we implement the new leadership structure? The board approved it this morning. We can announce the changes tomorrow. Perfect. I showed them the org chart on my screen. See these positions? All going to women who were told they weren't good enough, just like I was. Sergio's going to lose it when he sees this, Luna warned. Let him. Every tantrum, every drunk outburst, every angry social media post just proves I made the right choice. Margaret's tablet pinged. Speaking of social media, your mother just posted something interesting. She showed us the post. Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting you were wrong. Watching my daughter succeed despite our lack of support has opened my eyes. Sergio, it's time to let go. Don't trust it, Luna said immediately. It's a trap. Of course it is, I agreed. But it's also the first crack in her armor. She's realizing which way the wind is blowing. My phone buzzed again. An email from the board chairman. Impressive work today. Your father would be proud. Dinner next week to discuss international expansion. I showed it to Luna, who squeezed my shoulder. Look at you, changing the world. Not changing it, I corrected. Balancing it. One underestimated woman at a time. Margaret gathered her things. Board announcement goes out at 9 tomorrow. Want me to send security to your place tonight? Sergio might try something else. I shook my head. Let him try. Every mistake he makes just strengthens our position. As they left, I stood at my office window, watching the city lights come on. Somewhere out there, Sergio was probably drinking himself into a stupor, and Mom was realizing her perfect world was crumbling. But me? I was just getting started. The knock on my office door came just after sunset. I looked up to find Mom standing there, looking smaller than I remembered, her designer outfit slightly wrinkled. Security let you up? I asked, not moving from my desk. I told them I was your mother. She stepped inside, clutching her purse like a shield. They called Luna. She said it was okay. My phone buzzed. Luna's text read, She's alone. Sergio's in rehab. Your call if you want to hear her out. What do you want, Mom? She sat down heavily in the visitor's chair. I visited your women's shelter yesterday. That got my attention. Why? I wanted to understand. She pulled out a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. I met this woman there, Sarah. She told me how your program helped her leave her abusive husband, start a business, and she reminded me of myself 30 years ago. Mom's hands trembled. Before I met your father. I leaned back, studying her face. Are you saying, your father wasn't always... She paused. I gave up my own dreams to support his. Then I pushed Sergio to follow in his footsteps, and you to stay quiet, because that's what I thought we were supposed to do. Why are you telling me this now? Because you broke the cycle. She met my eyes. You did what I never could. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. Sergio's attorney filed for a continuance, claims rehab as the reason. Is he really in rehab? I asked Mom. She nodded. 3 days now, after he tried to break into your house last week. That was him? I'd assumed the attempted break-in was random. He was drunk. Again. I finally called an intervention service. She pulled out her phone, showing me photos of Sergio checking into a facility. He needs help, Alice, real help. And you think that excuses everything he's done? No. She straightened in her chair. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I saw what you've built. Those women at the shelter, the businesses you've helped launch, you're doing something remarkable. Something you and Dad always said I couldn't do. We were wrong. The words hung in the air between us. I was wrong. My phone lit up. Luna again. You okay? Need backup? I'm fine, I typed back, then looked at Mom. What exactly do you want from me? Nothing. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. And her voice cracked. I'm proud of you. The words I'd waited decades to hear felt hollow now. That's not enough, I said quietly. You can't just walk in here, say you're proud, and expect everything to be fixed. I know. She moved toward the door, then paused. But maybe it's a start. Before I could respond, Margaret burst in. Alice, we have a situation. Sergio's attorney just leaked documents to the press. What documents? Margaret handed me her tablet. Old psychological evaluations, from when you were a teenager. I scanned the headlines. Troubled teen to corporate takeover, the mental health history behind the Wilkinson family drama. Those were private, Mom exclaimed. How did they get them? You mean the records you kept in your home office? I looked up at her. The ones you showed the board last month? She paled. Alice, Save it. I turned to Margaret. Call Carson. Get our response ready. And contact every woman we've helped who's willing to speak to the press about their own mental health struggles and successes. Already on it, Margaret nodded. Luna's organising a press conference for tomorrow. Good. I faced Mom again. You should go. Let me help, she pleaded. I can make a statement, tell them I was wrong. Like you just told me? I shook my head. Too little. Too late, Mom. Way too late. After she left, I called Luna. You were right. It was a trap. Actually, Luna said slowly, I don't think it was. I think she really meant it. She just didn't know Sergio's attorney would do this. Doesn't matter. I pulled up the leaked documents on my screen. They want to talk about mental health. Let's talk about it. Let's show the world how many successful women have faced these struggles. Turn their weapon against them. Exactly. I started typing an email to our PR team. They thought these records would shame me? Watch me use them to inspire every woman who's ever been called unstable for standing up for herself. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Sergio. Hope you're ready for everyone to know how crazy you really are. I smiled, typing back, Oh, brother, you have no idea what crazy can do. The game had changed, but the outcome wouldn't. They thought they could shame me with my past. I'd use it to fuel my future and help countless other women do the same. Let the real battle begin. The courtroom buzzed with energy as I took my seat. Behind me, dozens of women from our foundation filled the gallery, each wearing a purple ribbon, our symbol of resilience. "Quite a turnout," Carson whispered, arranging his papers. "They're not just here for me," I replied, nodding toward the press section where reporters frantically typed on laptops. "They're here to change the narrative." Sergio entered with his new attorney, looking haggard despite his expensive suit. 30 days of rehab had left him thinner, more subdued. Mom slipped in behind them, choosing a seat halfway between us. "All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Martinez studied the packed courtroom before speaking. "Given recent developments and media attention, I want to be clear. This is not a trial about mental health. This is about the validity of a will. Proceed." Sergio's attorney stood first. "Your Honor, we intend to prove that Alice Wilkinson was mentally unfit to influence her father's decisions during his final months." "Objection," Carson called. "Counsel is attempting to stigmatize mental health struggles despite Miss Wilkinson's documented recovery and success." "Sustained," Judge Martinez nodded. "Counsel, proceed carefully." The attorney called his first witness, my old therapist, Dr. Roberts. "Dr. Roberts," the attorney began, "you treated Ms. Wilkinson for depression and anxiety in her teens, correct?" "I did," she replied calmly. "And would you say she was unstable?" "Objection," Carson stood. "Medical privacy." "Your Honor," I interrupted, standing. "I waive privacy concerns. Let her answer." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Proceed." Dr. Roberts smiled slightly. Alice was a teenager struggling with an emotionally abusive family dynamic. Her responses were entirely normal given the circumstances. "Normal?" the attorney scoffed. "She accused her family of favoritism, of undermining her." "All of which has been proven true," Dr. Roberts cut in. "In fact, I'm here voluntarily to support Alice. Her recovery and success are exactly what mental health professionals hope for." In the gallery, several women stood up, revealing their own purple ribbons. The message was clear. We've all been here. The attorney shifted tactics, calling Mum to the stand. "Mrs. Wilkinson, describe your daughter's behavior in the months before your husband's death." Mom gripped the witness stand, looking first at Sergio, then at me. She was different. Different how? Stronger, Mom said quietly. More confident. She stopped letting us interrupt her at family dinners, started standing up for herself. "Would you call that stable behavior given her history?" Mom straightened her spine. "I would call that healthy behavior given our history," the attorney stumbled. "Mrs. Wilkinson, I'm supposed to tell the truth," Mom interrupted. "The truth is, we're here because we couldn't handle seeing Alice succeed on her own terms." Sergio jumped up. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Enough," she snapped. "Look at yourself, Sergio. Look what fighting this has done to you, to us." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Martinez banged her gavel. "Order. Mrs. Wilkinson, continue." Mom turned to the judge. "My husband changed his will because he finally saw what we'd done to our daughter, what I'd done. And he saw how she'd succeeded despite us." "Your Honor," Sergio's attorney sputtered. "I move to strike." "Denied," Judge Martinez said. "Continue, Mrs. Wilkinson." "The night before he died," Mom's voice cracked, "Wilson told me he was proud of Alice, that she had more business sense than any of us. I was too stubborn to listen then. I'm listening now." She turned to me, tears streaming. "I'm so sorry, Alice, for everything." The gallery burst into applause. The judge banged her gavel again, but she was smiling. "Given this testimony and the evidence presented, I'm prepared to rule," Judge Martinez announced. "Unless the plaintiffs wish to withdraw their challenge." Sergio's attorney leaned in to whisper to him. After a moment, Sergio slumped in his chair. "We withdraw the challenge, Your Honor." "Very well." The judge looked at me. "Ms. Wilkinson, the will stands. But more importantly, you've turned this case into something meaningful. Your foundation's mental health advocacy during this trial has been remarkable." As the courtroom cleared, Luna rushed forward to hug me. Behind her, women from the foundation gathered, many crying, all smiling. Mom approached hesitantly. Alice, that press conference you're planning tomorrow. Could I speak? Tell my story? Maybe help other mothers avoid my mistakes? I studied her face, seeing real remorse for the first time. I'll have Margaret call you. Thank you. She turned to leave, then paused. You know, your father was right. You did have more business sense than any of us. You just had more humanity too. As she left, Luna squeezed my arm. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected, looking at the women around us. All of us. My phone buzzed. Margaret. CNN wants an interview. Time to tell your story. I smiled, typing back. No, time to tell our story. All of our stories. The war was over. Now the real work could begin. 3, 2, 1. The producer pointed at me as the red light blinked on. Welcome back to Morning America, the host smiled warmly. We're here with Alice, CEO of Women's Rise Foundation, and her mother Gwendolyn, sharing their story of family healing and female empowerment. The studio lights felt hot, but I stayed cool. 6 months after the trial, here we were, Mom and I, doing something I never thought possible. Working together. Alice, your foundation has helped over 1,000 women since the merger, the host continued. What's been the most rewarding part? Watching women discover their worth, I replied. Every time someone realizes they're capable of more than what they've been told, it heals a piece of my own past. Gwendolyn, as someone who initially opposed your daughter's work, what changed your mind? Mom straightened in her chair. I saw myself in the women she helps. I was that scared young woman once, giving up her dreams because I thought that's what women should do. And now you're running the foundation's mentorship program? Alice gave me a chance to make amends, Mom said, her voice steady. Not just with her, but with every woman I might have discouraged over the years. My phone vibrated in my pocket, probably Luna, watching from the office. The interview continued as planned until the host dropped an unexpected bomb. Your brother Sergio recently announced his own non-profit. Any comments? I kept my face neutral. Yes, he's starting a rehabilitation program for executives dealing with addiction and mental health issues. We're actually collaborating on some initiatives. The host leaned forward. After everything that happened, you're working together? Family is complicated, I said carefully, but healing is possible when people are willing to change. After the interview, Mom and I headed to the foundation's new headquarters, the renovated Wilkinson Industries building. You handled that question about Sergio perfectly, she said as we rode the elevator. Well, he's actually doing good work now. Who knew hitting rock bottom would be the best thing for him? The elevator opened to reveal Luna waiting with champagne. You both killed it. The social media response is insane. Show me, I said, following her to the conference room where Margaret had set up a viewing party for the staff. Look at these comments, Luna scrolled through her tablet. Finally, a real story about women supporting women. Watching Alice and her mom heal their relationship gives me hope. This foundation saved my life. Speaking of saving lives, Margaret interrupted, entering with a stack of papers. The new domestic violence shelter proposal is ready for review, and Sergio's rehab center wants to partner on the mental health initiative. Mom touched my arm gently. I can handle the shelter proposal if you want to focus on the partnership with your brother. Look at you, being all executive, I teased. I learned from the best. She smiled, then grew serious. Alice, about the family beach house. What about it? I think we should turn it into a retreat center for the foundation, a place where women can go to heal, plan their futures. Mom. I stared at her. The beach house had been her pride and joy, her status symbol. It's time, she said firmly. Those women need it more than I need to impress the country club set. Luna wiped away a tear. Okay, who are you? And what have you done with the real Gwendolyn? We all laughed, but Mom's eyes were serious. The real Gwendolyn was lost for a long time. Alice helped me find her again. My phone buzzed. Sergio this time. Saw the interview. You didn't have to mention my non-profit, but thanks. Lunch next week to discuss the partnership? Progress, Luna commented, reading over my shoulder. Baby steps, I agreed, typing back. Lunch works. Bring your proposal. Margaret cleared her throat. Not to interrupt the family healing, but we have that board meeting in 10 minutes. The international expansion plan. Right. I gathered my things, then turned to Mum. Coming. She blinked. You want me in the board meeting? You're running 2 of our biggest initiatives now. Of course I want you there. As we walked to the boardroom, Luna fell in step beside me. Remember that night in the cafe, when you were crying about your family never seeing you? Hard to forget. Look at you now. They don't just see you, they're following your lead. I watched Mom ahead of us, already discussing the shelter proposal with Margaret. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making people pay for their mistakes. It's showing them a better way, Luna finished. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sarah, one of our first success stories. Just landed my first $1 million contract. Thank you for showing me what was possible. I smiled, remembering all the times I'd been told what wasn't possible. Now here we were, redefining possible every day. Ready? Mom held the boardroom door open. Ready, I nodded, stepping into the next chapter of our story, not just mine anymore, but ours. All of ours. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the little cafe where everything had started. Luna sat across from me at our usual table just like that first night, but everything else had changed. Full circle, she said, sliding a newspaper across the table. Have you seen this? I glanced at the headline. Women's Rise Foundation named most influential non-profit of the year. Margaret's already framed 3 copies. I laughed. But that's not why I asked you here. Oh? Luna raised an eyebrow. I pulled out a folder. Remember how you found me crying here, told me to prove them wrong? Best advice I ever gave. Well, I want to prove something else now. I opened the folder, revealing partnership papers. How would you like to be CEO? Luna choked on her coffee. What? I'm stepping down, I said. The foundation needs someone focused on growth. I need to focus on something else. Alice, this is your baby. You built this. We built this, I corrected. You, me, Margaret, all the women we've helped, and now I want to build something new. I showed her another document. Plans for a political action committee focused on women's economic rights. Holy shit, Luna whispered, scanning the details. This is huge. Bigger than us? I nodded. But first, I need to do something else. Come with me? We drove to the cemetery where Mom and Sergio were already waiting by Dad's grave. It was the first time we'd all been here together since the funeral. You sure about this? Sergio asked as I placed a folder on Dad's headstone. He should see it, I replied. The final numbers. Mom opened the folder, revealing the foundation's annual report. 10,000 women helped, 48 million in grants distributed, 300 new businesses launched. And 1 family rebuilt, Sergio added quietly. I turned to him. How's the rehab center doing? 28 executives graduated from the program last month. Turns out there are a lot of people struggling under the weight of expectations. Speaking of expectations, Mom interjected, have you told Luna your other news? Luna looked between us. What other news? I pulled out one final document. Remember that woman we helped last year? The one who designed the solar-powered water filtration system? The one nobody would fund because she was too young and female? Yeah, why? We just bought her company. All the patents, all the technology. She's going to help us bring clean water to communities around the world. Under the foundation? Luna asked. Under you, I corrected, if you accept the CEO position. Sergio cleared his throat. And I've got some contacts in developing markets who could use this technology. If you're interested in a partnership. Look at you, being all collaborative, I teased. Yeah, well, he shrugged. Turns out helping people feels better than fighting them. Mom wiped away a tear. Your father would be so proud, not just of the success, but of how you've all grown. Even you, Mom, I said softly. The shelter program you're running has saved hundreds of lives. Because you showed me it was possible, she replied. You showed all of us. Luna cleared her throat. So about this CEO position, say yes, Sergio urged. Alice needs to focus on getting into politics. Someone has to change the laws that keep women down. And that someone is my daughter, Mom said proudly. I placed my hand on Dad's headstone. I used to think revenge meant making you all pay for how you treated me. But real revenge was showing you a better way. Making you part of something bigger than yourselves. Karma works in mysterious ways, Luna agreed, then straightened her shoulders. All right, I accept. But on one condition. Name it. We turn this cafe into our first international headquarters. Where it all began, I laughed. Already done. Bought it last week. Mom linked her arm through mine as we walked back to our cars. You know, for someone who started out wanting revenge, you've created something remarkable. We all did, I corrected. Even Dad in his own way. His last decision gave me the power to change things. And now? Sergio asked. I looked at Luna, already on her phone planning the Foundation's next phase. At Mom, who'd found her voice helping other women find theirs. At Sergio, using his experience to help others heal. Now we keep going, keep building, keep proving that the best revenge isn't about destroying people. It's about transforming them, Luna finished. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Conference call with the UN in 10 minutes. Ready to change the world? I smiled, typing back. Already did. Now let's do it again. Standing there with my once broken family, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility, I finally understood. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the battle. It's in changing the game entirely.
The first time I seized during surgery, I thought my career was over. Instead, it became my defining moment. My name is Kennedy, and I've spent my entire life proving people wrong. Right now, I'm standing in the operating room of Boston General, my hands steady as I prepare to remove a tumor from a patient's temporal lobe. The familiar weight of surgical instruments feels like home, even as the memory of that first seizure lingers in my mind. Dr. Parker, patient's BP is stable, my assistant calls out. I nod, focused on the delicate tissue before me. The rhythmic beeping of monitors fills the silence as I work. This is where I belong, despite what my family spent years telling me. You'll never be a doctor, my mother's voice echoes from the past. Your condition makes you a liability. Think of our family's reputation. The memory makes my jaw clench, but my hands remain steady. I've performed this procedure hundreds of times. My epilepsy is controlled now, thanks to the aunt who actually bothered to help me find the right treatment when my parents shipped me off to live with her. Looking good. Sullivan, my colleague, comments from across the table. Clean margins. 3 hours later, I'm washing up when Sullivan joins me at the sink. That's what, your 5th successful temporal lobe resection this month? 6th, I correct him, unable to hide my smile. But who's counting? The board is, he says, drying his hands. Word is they're considering you for department head. I pause, letting that sink in. Department head of neurosurgery at 34. Not bad for someone my father once called damaged goods. Coffee? Sullivan asks. You can tell me all about how you're not going to call your family to brag. I laugh, but it's hollow. They stopped taking my calls years ago. Besides, I doubt they'd care unless they could somehow use it to boost their social standing. We head to the hospital cafe, our scrubs drawing the usual respectful nods from staff and visitors. Sullivan grabs our usual table while I get our coffee. Black for him, oat milk latte for me. Saw your parents in the society pages again, he mentions as I sit down. Something about a charity gala? Let me guess. Supporting children with cancer? I take a sip of my coffee. They love causes that make them look good, as long as the suffering stays at arm's length. You ever wonder if they regret it? Sending you away? They regret having a child with epilepsy. There's a difference. I check my phone. 3 new patient referrals. Besides, Aunt Mia gave me something they never could. Acceptance. Sullivan leans forward. Speaking of acceptance, that article about your innovative approach to temporal lobe surgeries is getting serious attention. The medical journal wants to feature you on the cover. Now that might actually make my mother notice me, I say with a smirk, though she'd probably just criticize my hair in the photo. My pager buzzes. Emergency consult needed. As I stand, Sullivan catches my arm. Hey, Kennedy. You know you proved them all wrong, right? You're not just successful despite your epilepsy, you're successful, period. I give him a genuine smile. Thanks, Sully. Sometimes I still need to hear that. Racing to the ER, I feel the familiar rush of purpose. Every successful surgery, every life saved, is a testament to what I've overcome. My family might have written me off, but their rejection became my motivation. The ER is chaos, standard for a Friday night. I spot my resident waiting by the nurse's station. What have we got? I ask, taking the offered tablet. Male, 42, presented with severe headaches and focal seizures. CT shows a mass in the left frontal lobe. I review the scan, already formulating a surgical plan. This is where I shine, where my past transforms into purpose. Every time I help someone with a neurological condition, I think of that scared teenage girl being told she was too broken to succeed. Book an OR, I tell the resident. We're going in tonight. As I prepare for another surgery, I catch my reflection in the window. I see what my family couldn't. Not a liability, but a force of nature. My epilepsy didn't define my limits. It showed me how to break them. The OR lights flick on, and I take my position at the head of the table. This is my revenge. Not just surviving, but thriving. Every life I save is a middle finger to those who said I couldn't. Every successful surgery proves that sometimes the best thing your family can do is underestimate you. Because that's the thing about being underestimated. It gives you one hell of a motivation to prove everyone wrong. The call came on a Tuesday morning, just as I was reviewing post-op notes in my office. I almost didn't answer the unknown number. Dr. Parker speaking. Kennedy? The voice was familiar, though I hadn't heard it in years. It's your mother. My hand froze over the patient chart. 15 years of silence, and now this? What do you want? My voice came out harder than I expected. It's Quincy. He's sick. Very sick. A pause. We need your help. Of course. They wouldn't call unless they needed something. I'm sure there are plenty of qualified neurosurgeons in New York. They say you're the best, the only one who can perform the type of surgery he needs. Her voice cracked. Please, Kennedy, he's your brother. I closed my eyes, remembering the last time I saw Quincy. He stood silent while our parents packed my bags, shipping me off to Aunt Mia's like damaged merchandise. I'll review his case files, I said finally. Have them sent to Boston General. That's all I'm promising. 2 days later, they showed up at my hospital. I was walking to my office when I saw them. My mother in her designer suit, my father looking distinguished in gray, and Quincy noticeably thinner than I remembered, leaning on a cane. Sullivan appeared at my side. Want me to tell them you're in surgery? No. I straightened my white coat. Time to face the music. My mother moved to hug me, but I stepped back. Let's take this to my office. The walk was silent, heavy with unspoken words. Inside, they took seats while I remained standing, putting my desk between us. The tumor's location is tricky, I said, pulling up Quincy's scans. Near the brainstem. Most surgeons won't touch it. But you can? Quincy asked, his voice weak. I've developed a technique for accessing tumors in this region. The success rate is high, but there are still risks. Money is no object. My father spoke up. Whatever you need. I don't want your money. The words came out sharp. I haven't wanted anything from you since I was 16. My mother's perfectly maintained facade cracked. Kennedy, please. We know we made mistakes. Mistakes? I laughed. You abandoned your daughter because she had a medical condition. You chose your reputation over your child. We thought we were protecting you, my father argued. Protecting me? By sending me away? By cutting off contact? I turned to Quincy. By letting your son pretend he didn't have a sister? Quincy looked down. I was young. I didn't understand. You were 14, not 4. You understood plenty. Sullivan knocked and entered, providing a welcome interruption. Sorry, Dr. Parker, but your 3 o'clock is here. Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. I turned back to my family. I'll need time to consider whether I'll take this case. Consider? My mother stood up. Quincy could die. Yes, he could. Just like I could have died from untreated epilepsy if Aunt Mia hadn't stepped in. I met each of their eyes. Funny how that works, isn't it? What do you want from us? My father asked, his voice tight. I want you to understand what it feels like to be at someone else's mercy, to need help from people who threw you away. I moved toward the door. I'll let you know my decision in a few days. Kennedy, Quincy called out as I opened the door. I'm sorry, for everything. I paused, hand on the doorknob. Sorry doesn't change the past, Quincy, but it might affect the future. After they left, Sullivan found me in the doctor's lounge, staring into a cold cup of coffee. You okay? They haven't changed, I said, still trying to throw money at their problems. Are you going to do it? The surgery? I looked at him. Should I? Professionally? You're his best shot at survival. He sat beside me. Personally? That's your call. But remember, whatever you decide, it needs to be something you can live with. My pager buzzed. Emergency in the OR. As I stood to leave, Sullivan caught my arm. Hey, one more thing. Whatever you decide, you're not that powerless 16-year-old anymore. You're Dr. Kennedy Parker, and you call the shots now. I nodded, feeling a plan form in my mind. They wanted my help? Fine. But this time, we'd do things my way. Heading to the OR, I pulled out my phone and made a call. Ruben, it's Kennedy. Remember that story you wanted to write about medical discrimination? I think I have something better. How do you feel about family drama, redemption, and a little karmic justice? The journalist's interest was immediate. I'm listening. Good, because this story, it's just getting started. You want them to do what? Sullivan nearly choked on his coffee as we sat in my office discussing my terms. A public apology, I repeated, scrolling through Quincy's latest test results. And I want them to fund a foundation for families affected by neurological conditions. That's bold. He leaned forward. Your parents are going to lose their minds. They lost their humanity years ago. This is just making it official. I turned my laptop around to show him an email. Ruben's already interested in covering the story. A knock at my door interrupted us. Aunt Mia stood there, her silver hair neat as always, concern etched on her face. I came as soon as I got your message, she said, pulling me into a hug. Are you sure about this? I gestured for her to sit. Remember when I had that seizure at your house? My first week there? Mia's eyes softened. Of course. You were so scared. You held me afterward. Told me I wasn't broken, just different. I swallowed hard. That's what this foundation could do for other kids. Show them they're not alone. While publicly humiliating your parents in the process. Sullivan added with a slight smirk. That's just a bonus. My phone buzzed. A text from Quincy. Can we talk? Alone? 20 minutes later, I found him in the hospital garden, looking smaller than I remembered. The golden child of the family, reduced to this. Your latest scans show the tumors growing, I said, sitting beside him. I know. He stared at his hands. I also know about your terms. Mom's having a meltdown. Shocking. Kennedy. He turned to face me. That day they sent you away. I've replayed it so many times. No, let me finish. I watched them pack your things while you were at school. Dad said it was for the best, that you'd get better care with Aunt Mia. His voice cracked. I knew it was wrong, but I was scared. Scared of standing up to them. Scared of losing their approval like you did. Scared of your sister's broken brain? The words came out bitter. Scared of becoming an outsider, too. He met my eyes. I was a coward. A memory flashed. Quincy sneaking into my room the night before, promising we'd always be close. Another broken promise in a lifetime of them. You know what the worst part was? I said. Not the rejection from Mom and Dad. I expected that. It was losing my little brother. You were my best friend, Quincy. I know. He wiped his eyes. That's why I'm going to support your terms. All of them. I stared at him. What? The public apology, the foundation, whatever you want. I'll make it happen. He grabbed my hand. Let me try to be the brother I should have been. My pager buzzed, a welcome interruption as emotions threatened to overwhelm me. I have to go. Surgery. Kennedy? He called as I stood. I really am sorry. Back in my office later that night, I called Ruben. I want to do the interview, I said, but I have conditions. Name them. We focus on the foundation, not just family drama. This needs to be about helping people, not just revenge. Even better, he said. When can we start? A knock at my door revealed Sullivan with takeout. Thought you might need dinner and moral support. Perfect timing. I put Ruben on speaker. Let's draft these terms properly. For the next hour, we outlined everything. The public apology, the foundation's structure, the media strategy. It felt surreal, turning years of pain into something productive. Your parents won't like this, Sullivan warned as we finished. They don't have to like it, they just have to do it. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my mother. Besides, what choice do they have? Dr. Parker? My resident appeared at the door. Mr. Parker's latest labs are concerning. His pressure's rising. I grabbed my coat. Time to make a decision. Kennedy? Sullivan called after me. Whatever you decide, make sure it's about healing, not hurting. In Quincy's room, I found my parents already there. Mother's makeup was smeared from crying, father's usual composure cracking. Well? Mother demanded. Will you help him? I looked at Quincy, pale against the hospital sheets. Then at my parents, their perfectly crafted world crumbling around them. Yes, I said finally. I'll do the surgery. But first, we're going to have a press conference, and you're going to tell the truth. All of it. You can't be serious. Father started. I am. And if you want the best neurosurgeon in Boston to save your son, you'll do exactly what I say. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Mom, wear waterproof mascara to the press conference. You're going to need it. The hospital conference room buzzed with anticipation. Reporters filled every seat, cameras ready. Ruben sat in the front row, giving me a subtle nod. Are you sure about this? Sullivan whispered as we waited in the adjacent room. Watch and learn. I straightened my white coat and checked my phone. One new message from Aunt Mia. Give them hell, sweetheart. My parents entered, looking like they were heading to a funeral. Mother's designer suit couldn't hide her trembling hands. Father's jaw was clenched so tight I worried he'd crack a tooth. Remember, I said quietly, stick to the script or I walk. The press conference began with hospital administration introducing me as their leading neurosurgeon. I stepped up to the podium, feeling the weight of 15 years of silence lifting. Thank you for coming, I began. Today isn't just about medical advancement. It's about truth, accountability, and the power of second chances. The cameras clicked as I continued. Many of you know the Parker family as pillars of New York society. What you don't know is their secret, how they handled having a daughter with epilepsy. My mother flinched. Good. I'm here to announce the creation of the New Horizons Foundation, dedicated to supporting families affected by neurological conditions. And now my parents would like to say a few words. Father approached the podium first, his usual confidence nowhere to be seen. 15 years ago, he read from his prepared statement. We made a terrible mistake. When our daughter developed epilepsy, we chose our reputation over her well-being. We sent her away, cut contact, and tried to erase her from our lives. A reporter's hand shot up. Mr. Parker, are you saying you abandoned your daughter because of a medical condition? Yes, he admitted, his voice cracking. We did. Mother was next, barely holding it together. We were wrong. The shame isn't in having epilepsy. The shame is in how we treated our daughter. Reuben stood up. Mrs. Parker, how does it feel knowing you need your daughter's help now, after years of rejecting her? Mother's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her flush. It feels deserved. The questions came rapid fire after that. Each answer stripped away another layer of my parents' carefully constructed facade. Their social standing crumbled in real time, broadcast live across multiple networks. Suddenly, my pager went off. Quincy's name flashed on the screen. "Excuse me," I said, cutting through the chaos. "My brother needs medical attention." Racing to Quincy's room, I found him seizing. Sullivan was already there, helping the nurses. "BP's through the roof," he reported. "We need to operate. Now." "Get him prepped," I ordered, then turned to my parents who had followed me. "Looks like your public confession gets cut short." "Please." Mother grabbed my arm. "Save him." I pulled away. "That's what I do, Mother. I save people. Even those who didn't save me." The next hours were a blur of preparation. As the OR team got ready, Reuben caught me in the hallway. "The story's blowing up," he said. "Social media's on fire. Your parents are trending." "Good," I replied, washing my hands. Let them feel what it's like to be exposed, vulnerable. "Kennedy," he hesitated. "Your brother's condition, it's not part of your plan, right?" I turned to him, anger flaring. "I'm a doctor. I don't play games with people's lives, even if they played games with mine." In the OR prep room, Sullivan helped me with my surgical gown. "Your hands are steady," he observed. "They always are." I looked through the window at Quincy, unconscious on the table. Even when my world isn't. "Dr. Parker," a nurse called out. "Your mother's asking if she can observe from the gallery." I paused, considering. Let her. Let her see exactly what her daughter became without her help. The OR lights blazed as I took my position. Looking up, I saw my mother in the observation room, pressing her hand against the glass. "Scalpel," I called out. As I made the first incision, I heard Sullivan's voice. "Remember what you said about healing, not hurting?" "I remember," I replied, focused on the delicate tissue before me. But sometimes healing hurts worse than the injury. The monitors beeped steadily as I worked, my technique precise. Each movement brought me closer to saving my brother's life, and closer to completing my revenge. In the gallery, my mother watched her 2 children, one fighting for life, the other fighting to save it. Both lost to her in different ways. "BP dropping," a nurse announced. "Come on, Quincy," I muttered. "Don't you dare die on my table. We're not done yet." The monitors screamed in warning, and suddenly my perfect plan didn't seem so important anymore. "He's stabilizing," I announced, watching the monitors return to normal. The entire OR seemed to exhale collectively. 8 hours later, I stepped out of surgery to find my parents and Aunt Mia in the waiting room. Mother jumped up, mascara streaked down her face. "He's alive," I said before she could speak. "The surgery was successful." Father slumped in his chair while Mother burst into fresh tears. Aunt Mia caught my eye and smiled proudly. "When can we see him?" Mother asked. "He'll be in recovery for several hours." I checked my phone, dozens of notifications from the press conference coverage. "Meanwhile, we need to discuss the foundation." "Now?" Father's head snapped up. "Our son just had brain surgery. And my childhood was destroyed by your shame. We all have our crosses to bear." I sat down across from them. "The paperwork's ready. $10 million initial funding plus annual contributions." $10 million? Father sputtered. "Would you prefer I list a price for your son's life?" I met his gaze steadily. "Because I can do that too." Aunt Mia stepped in. "Royal Poppy, just sign the papers. You've lost enough already." While they reviewed the documents with the hospital's lawyer, Sullivan brought me coffee. "Your revenge is trending on Twitter," he said, showing me his phone. Parker family and neurological justice are going viral. Good. I took a sip. The more attention, the better. Every family like ours needs to see this. Dr. Parker? A nurse approached. Your brother's asking for you. In recovery, Quincy looked pale but alert. The bandages around his head made him seem younger, vulnerable. Hey, sis, he whispered. Hey, yourself. I checked his vitals. How's the pain? Worth it? He caught my hand. I saw the news coverage. Mom and Dad looked destroyed. That was the point. No. He squeezed my hand. The point was the foundation, the families you'll help. The rest is just karma. Before I could respond, Reuben appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but you might want to see this. He held up his tablet. My mother was on the screen, standing at a podium outside the hospital. My daughter, she was saying, tears flowing freely, has shown me what true strength looks like. While we rejected her for her condition, she turned it into her purpose. She became a brilliant surgeon not despite her epilepsy, but perhaps because of it. Because it taught her empathy, resilience, and determination. All the things we failed to teach her. Is this live? I asked Reuben. He nodded. She called the press herself. No script, no PR team. On screen, my mother continued. The New Horizons Foundation isn't just our daughter's demand for justice. It's her gift to families who might make the same terrible mistakes we did. We're not just funding it. We're dedicating ourselves to its mission. Wow, Quincy whispered. I've never seen Mom like this. Kennedy? Father appeared in the doorway. Your mother's making a statement. I can see that. I turned to him. Did you know about this? He shook his head. She said she needed to do something real. Something unscripted. On the tablet, Mother was wrapping up. To every family struggling with neurological conditions, you're not alone. And to my daughter Kennedy, you've become everything we should have helped you be. I know sorry isn't enough, but maybe this foundation can be a start. The room fell silent except for the steady beep of Quincy's monitors. Well, Sullivan said from behind me, looks like your mother just went off script in the best possible way. My pager buzzed. Another patient needed attention. Real life didn't stop for family drama. I have to go, I told Quincy. Try to rest. In the hallway, Aunt Mia caught up with me. Your mother's statement. That wasn't part of your plan, was it? No, I admitted. That was unexpected. Maybe that's what makes it meaningful. She hugged me tight. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people realize their mistakes on their own. Later that night, reviewing the foundation paperwork in my office, I found a handwritten note from my mother. The foundation will help others, but it won't fix our past. That's a different kind of surgery, one that requires time, truth, and hope. If you'll let us, we'd like to try. Mom, Sullivan found me staring at the note. You okay? I wanted revenge, I said quietly. I wanted them to hurt like I hurt. But now you're seeing that sometimes the best revenge is success? He smiled. Or maybe it's watching people realize exactly what they threw away. My phone lit up with a text from Reuben. Foundation stories everywhere. You're changing lives already. I looked at my mother's note again, then at the foundation papers. Maybe this wasn't just about revenge anymore. Maybe it was about something bigger. Something that could heal more than just my family's wounds. Time to start the real work, I said, reaching for my pen. 3 days after his first surgery, Quincy's scans showed complications. I stared at the images, Sullivan at my side. There's still pressure building. I pointed to the screen. We need to go back in. Higher risk this time, Sullivan noted. The tissue will be more fragile. Tell me something I don't know. I rubbed my temples. Get the OR prepped. We go in tonight. In Quincy's room, Mother sat holding his hand while Father paced. They both looked up when I entered. The swelling's worse, I said, getting straight to the point. We need another surgery. But you said the first one was successful. Mother's voice shook. It was. This is a complication. It happens sometimes with brain surgery. I checked Quincy's vitals. The good news is we caught it early. The bad news? Quincy asked weakly. The bad news is it's riskier than the first surgery. The brain tissue is more sensitive now. Father stopped pacing. What are his chances? Without surgery? 0. With surgery? I met Quincy's eyes. I'll do everything I can. That's not an answer, Father snapped. It's the only answer I can give. I turned to leave, then paused. You might want to call your lawyer. Update any paperwork, just in case. In the hallway, Aunt Mia waited with coffee. You're scaring them, she said, handing me a cup. Good. They should be scared. I am. She touched my arm. Kennedy, sweetheart, are you sure you should be doing this surgery? Emotionally? Who else would you trust with your nephew's life? That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. I checked my watch. I need to prep. In the OR prep room, I was washing up when Sullivan entered. Your hands are shaking, he observed. No, they're not. But they were. Slightly. Kennedy, don't. I scrubbed harder. Just don't. Okay, then let me ask you this. Are you trembling because you're scared of losing your brother or because you're scared of saving him? I stopped scrubbing. What's that supposed to mean? It means revenge is simple. Forgiveness is complicated. Before I could respond, Quincy was wheeled past us toward the OR. He caught my eye through the window, managing a weak smile. Dr. Parker? A nurse appeared. Your parents are asking about observing again. I nodded. Let them watch. They should see what their son is going through. In the OR, everything was ready. I looked up at the observation room where my parents stood, mother clutching father's arm. Scalpel, I called out. The first incision was clean, but as we got deeper, complications arose. BP's dropping, a nurse announced. I see it, I said, hands steady despite my racing heart. Push more fluids. Heart rate's elevated, Sullivan warned. Come on, Quincy, I muttered. Work with me here. In the gallery, I heard Mother's muffled sob. For a moment, I was 16 again, hearing her cry about how my epilepsy would ruin the family name. Kennedy. Sullivan's voice cut through the memory. Focus. Right. Focus. This wasn't about the past. This was about saving my brother's life. Hours passed. The surgery was delicate, each movement crucial. Finally, the pressure began to decrease. Looking good, Sullivan confirmed. Swelling's reducing. I was about to close when the monitors screamed. He's crashing. No, no, no. I worked frantically. Don't you dare, Quincy. Not now. Mother's screams from the gallery pierced the OR. Father's face pressed against the glass. Starting chest compressions, a nurse called out. Come on, little brother, I pleaded, working to stabilize him. You don't get to die on my table. You don't get to make me the villain in this story. The monitors continued their awful sound. 1 minute passed. 2. Then finally a steady beep. He's back, Sullivan announced. We've got him. I finished closing, my hands still steady despite everything. When I looked up at the gallery, my parents were holding each other, crying. In the scrub room afterward, I finally let my hands shake. You did it, Sullivan said quietly. Yeah. I stripped off my surgical gown. I did. So what now? I thought about Mother's tears, Father's fear, Quincy's trust in me despite everything. Now? I took a deep breath. Now we see if healing runs in both directions. Outside, dawn was breaking over Boston. Another day, another chance to either hold on to anger or let it go. My pager buzzed. Quincy was waking up. Time to face my brother. Time to face my family. Time to face whatever came next. Hey, Rockstar. Quincy's voice was weak but clear as I entered his recovery room. Heard you had to restart my heart. Just keeping things interesting. I checked his vitals. How's the pain? Worth it. He caught my hand. You saved my life. Twice. That's what doctors do. Is that what sisters do too? Before I could answer, Mother burst into the room, Father close behind. The foundation website just launched, she announced, holding up her tablet. Look at the donations pouring in. I took the tablet, scrolling through the numbers. Over 2 million in public donations already, on top of my parents' contribution. People are sharing their stories, Father added. Families who went through similar situations. I know. I handed the tablet back. Ruben's been keeping me updated. Kennedy, Mother stepped closer. We've been thinking about the foundation's leadership. If you're trying to take control... No, she interrupted. We want you to lead it, with Aunt Mia as co-chair. I stared at her. What? You understand these families better than anyone, Father said. You lived it, and clearly you know how to make things happen. Plus, Quincy added from his bed, you're kind of trending as a medical hero now. Sullivan appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but Dr. Parker's needed for a consultation. Go. Quincy waved me off. Save more lives. We'll be here. In the hallway, Sullivan grinned. There's no consultation. Just thought you might need an escape route. Thanks. I leaned against the wall. Did you hear about the foundation? The whole hospital's talking about it. You're becoming quite the celebrity. That's not what I wanted, isn't it? He raised an eyebrow. You wanted to expose their shame, right? Make them face consequences? Yeah, but now they're actually trying to make amends and it's messing with your revenge narrative? Before I could respond, Aunt Mia appeared with coffee. Your mother just called me about co-chairing the foundation, she said. What do you think? I took the coffee. I think I need to show you something. I led them to my office, pulling up files on my computer. These are all the cases I've handled involving families like mine. Kids with epilepsy, tumors, neurological conditions. I scrolled through the list. Every single one faced some form of discrimination or abandonment. And you helped them all, Sullivan noted. I tried, but it's not enough. One doctor can only do so much. I turned to Aunt Mia. But a foundation? With real funding and public support? We could help hundreds of families, she finished. Maybe thousands. My pager buzzed. This time, a real consultation. Think about it, I told Aunt Mia. The foundation needs someone who understands both sides, the medical and the personal. Back in Quincy's room later that night, I found him alone, reading foundation proposals on his laptop. Shouldn't you be resting? I asked. Can't. Too excited about this. He patted the bed beside him. Come look at these programs we could fund. I sat down, scanning the screen. Support groups, medical research, family counseling. Remember when we were kids? He asked suddenly. How you used to read me bedtime stories. Before the seizures started. No, he corrected. Even after. You'd come into my room even when Mom and Dad said not to. Said I needed to understand your condition wasn't contagious. I'd forgotten that. You were scared. I was stupid. He closed the laptop. But you never gave up on me. Even now. Yeah, well, I stood up. Maybe that's the problem with being a doctor. We're not supposed to give up on people. Is that why you saved me? Doctor's oath? No. I checked his IV. I saved you because you're my brother, and maybe that still means something. The next morning, I found my parents in the hospital cafeteria with Aunt Mia, surrounded by foundation paperwork. We're thinking of naming it New Horizons, Mother said as I approached. Unless you have a better idea? I sat down, looking at their eager faces. Actually, I do. Of course you do, Father smiled. You always were the smart one. The Parker Family Foundation for Neurological Support, I said. Because this isn't about hiding anymore, is it? Mother's eyes welled up. No, it's not. Good. I pulled out my phone. Because Ruben wants to do a follow-up story about how a family's shame turned into something beautiful. Are you ready for that? Aunt Mia asked. To tell the whole story? I thought about Quincy upstairs, healing. About my parents, trying to make amends. About all the families who needed what we could offer. Yeah, I said. I think I am. Ready? Sullivan asked as we stood outside the Foundation's new medical center. Almost. I adjusted my white coat, fingers brushing against the epilepsy awareness pin on my lapel. Just waiting for everyone. Quincy arrived first, walking without assistance now. Place looks amazing, sis. Wait until you see inside. I watched more cars pull up. How's the head? Better than the company's stock after Dad handed me back the CEO position. He grinned. Turns out near-death experiences change your priorities. My parents approached next, Mother carrying a stack of brochures for the center's opening. She'd traded her designer suits for something more practical. The first families are already waiting, she said, including that teenage girl you told us about. Sarah. I nodded. Her parents tried to pull her out of school when she was diagnosed with epilepsy. Not anymore, Father added. Our legal team made sure of that. Aunt Mia joined us, clipboard in hand. Press is ready when you are, Kennedy. Taking a deep breath, I stepped up to the podium. Cameras flashed as I faced the crowd. Welcome to the Parker Family Foundation's first neurological support center, I began. But before we cut any ribbons, I want you to meet someone. I gestured to Sarah, who walked up nervously, her parents following. 3 months ago, Sarah had her first seizure in math class. Her parents, scared and uninformed, wanted to hide her away. I met my mother's eyes. I know that fear. My family lived it. Sarah's mother spoke up. But the foundation helped us understand. Showed us we weren't alone. That's why we're here today, I continued. This center isn't just about medical treatment. It's about support, education, and acceptance. Ruben raised his hand from the press section. Dr. Parker, how does it feel seeing your family actively involved in the foundation? I looked at my parents, who now spent their social capital advocating for neurological awareness instead of hiding from it. It feels like healing, I answered honestly. On all sides. After the ceremony, I gave tours of the facility. Mother led support group orientations while Father handled administrative meetings. Quincy worked the crowd, his natural charm now serving a better purpose. In the children's wing, I found Sarah exploring the specially designed playroom. Cool place, she said. Better than hiding in my room. I had a room like that once, I told her. Until someone taught me I deserved better. I felt Aunt Mia's hand on my shoulder. And now you're teaching others the same thing. Later, in my new office overlooking the center's garden, Sullivan brought coffee. Quite a change from plotting revenge, he observed. Turns out revenge isn't as satisfying as actual change. I picked up a framed photo from my desk. Me and Quincy in his hospital room, both smiling despite everything. A knock at the door revealed my mother. Kennedy, there's a family in the consultation room. Their daughter just had her first seizure. I'll be right there. I stood up, straightening my coat. Want me to come? She asked hesitantly. I paused, then nodded. Yeah, show them what acceptance looks like. In the consultation room, I saw my past reflected in the scared parents and their confused daughter. But this time, the story could have a different ending. I'm Dr. Parker, I said, sitting down. And this is my mother. We have quite a story to tell you. Mother reached for my hand as we began to share our journey, not just of medical treatment, but of family, forgiveness, and finding purpose in pain. Later that night, as the center quieted down, I found Quincy in the garden. Remember when you said sorry wasn't enough? He asked. Yeah. Was this enough? He gestured at the building behind us. Did we finally get it right? I thought about Sarah and her parents, about all the families who would find help here, about my own family's transformation. It's a start, I said. A good one. My pager buzzed. Emergency surgery needed. Some things never changed. Duty calls, I told Quincy. Try not to need any more brain surgery while I'm gone. No promises. He hugged me. Go be amazing, sis. Walking through the center's halls, I passed the wall of donor names. My family's among them. Not as a symbol of social status now, but as a commitment to change. My phone lit up with a text from Aunt Mia. Proud of you, sweetheart. You turned pain into purpose. In the hospital wing, I prepared for surgery, my hands steady as always. The revenge I'd planned had transformed into something better. Not just healing bodies, but healing hearts, including my own. Ready, Dr. Parker? Sullivan asked, joining me in the OR. Ready, I replied, knowing he meant more than just the surgery. The OR lights blazed to life, and I began another day of saving lives, this time with my whole family behind me.